looking.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first ever Big Brother Australia coverage.
We're so excited.
How are we all doing today?
Doing great. I'm excited to be here, even though I haven't watched it. So.
You're getting there. You had to start.
We're getting there. I'll still have a hard opinion on things. Don't worry.
I feel like I'm so excited. I feel like this is the first time really that I've talked about something other than sequester, like on a platform of some sort. That's never happened. So this is going to be great. I mean, overall, let's bring in our guests first of all. Let's see. I know TR is going to be. TR, are you here? He's coming. Hey. Oh, there we go.
Look, the whole fam together for the first time.
Oh my God, we're so cute.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure we got on here. This is the first time we're all together at once. So
I'm gonna take a screenshot so everyone look cute. Okay, got it.
I don't know if my smile was cute or creepy.
I actually think I shouldn't have looked at the camera, but it's okay.
I don't know. Anyway, that's official. It's over. So just suck it up.
All right, so let's bring in our guests for today's episode. Joining us, we have podcaster, we have RHAP correspondent, the man himself. He just got fresh off his Tier Tuesday discussing French fries, I believe, and apparently these have been very divisive. I'm worried Pooya might get canceled over his opinion on food very soon. Let's bring him in, Pooya.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on for me to have an outlet to talk. Big Brother Australia is going to be awesome. I'm not Angela, but I do have my tea, so Angela's jealous of me. We're good there. Everything's good here. Yeah, so I found out people have very strong opinions about their potatoes and their fries. Curly's number one for me, so if you don't like that, at me.
Did you get a lot of flack for that?
I got the biggest controversy was probably that we had sweet potato fries in the trash tier, and people were not happy about that.
Honestly,
I agree, though.
I agree.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on. Someone has to defend her when she's not here to defend herself. Sweet potato fries are amazing.
Listen, if I wanted to eat healthy, I would not be eating fries.
Okay. Clearly, I'm with the wrong group of people. That's okay.
It was really cool having you as a part of Podcaster.
Am I getting voted off the island?
We'll see you next time. All right.
Who knew we were doing so well, and sweet potato fries are going to destroy Podquester.
I know.
What a shame.
And joining us next, and I sure would love to hear his opinion on sweet potato fries. Let's bring in of BBGossip. We have Mike 2 himself going by Mike tonight. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Good to see everybody. Congratulations on all four of you in your first together kind of episode. Very cool.
Thank you.
I have a bag of sweet potato fries over in the freezer. If you give me more of a second, I would have run and got
Thank you, Mike. And you'll
really,
always
Mike?
be Mike 2 to me.
You're with Sharifa on this side of things?
I didn't think I would ever like I was not a sweet potato fan, but I am a sweet potato fries man. Little honey mustard kind of a thing going.
They're fantastic. They're so good. Put
Maybe I was
eating
the wrong
honey
one.
mustard.
Man, I don't know.
Yep.
I like a sweet potato like mash. I just don't know about the fries.
See, I don't like mashed sweet potatoes.
Mash.
I like the
Here's the thing. Kristen had a very
Do you mean like a
controversial opinion
casserole?
about mash, so I don't know if we can get there.
Do you mean a sweet potato casserole?
But like the marshmallows and the cinnamon and all.
Yeah, the casserole.
That's
That's what
casserole.
That's a casserole or a pie, a sweet potato
mash.
pie.
No,
gotta get your garbage right.
that's exactly what I didn't like. I want the fried part of it is what made it tangible to me.
You know what?
Right.
Let's just stop this before it
actually,
tears us
Yeah,
apart.
this could be the whole situation.
Pooya,
so we
what
can't
did you
do
bring
that.
into this? What did you
sorry.
do?
I didn't come here to take the Podquester mini out from the inside out. That wasn't my plan, but if that
Oh my
happens,
God,
it
Louie's
wasn't me,
being
I'm sorry.
canceled.
No, well,
Yeah.
so I do have
People
a
are
point
unstanding
related to Big Brother Australia if we're talking about food, because I was going
Of
to bring
course.
this up at one point, and I didn't
What a
think
transition. Thank you.
we would get to it. What are our opinions of a Sunday roast Because there was a lot of talk about
Yeah.
Sunday roast, and I was like, I don't think I've had a Sunday roast. Are we talking
So
about
that's I know they do that in England. I didn't know
That makes
they
me
did
think
it in-
Jersey Shore. You know, they would have a big Sunday dinner every
Yeah.
Sunday of the
That's
Jersey
Italian.
Shore.
It's
Yeah, that's a
Italian,
really Italian thing. And I think it's the same concept, but I know in England, like what I watch British soap operas. This is like the third random thing I've told y'all since we've been like together on this stream that I've told you I've watched. The other thing was like Victorious, and I don't remember the third. But yeah, I watch British soap operas, and they always have a big Sunday roast. So I think that this is similar. Sharifa, do you also watch
Suzi,
British
we
soap
need to
operas?
talk. We need
What do
to
you
talk.
watch?
Oh God, are we witnessing the birth of a spin-off series on this?
We're gonna
What do
we'll do a streaming thing. We'll talk after this.
Okay.
Keep it hush hush for now. For now.
Someone might steal their
what
idea.
happens is my YouTube, because I'm always obsessed with queer couples because I'm queer.
So
shocking.
Emmerdale.
Yeah, so I always get like the little videos of all the queer couples and I watch them. So I don't ever watch episodes. I just watch all of their little stuff.
That's what my partner does, but I started watching episodes. Well, my partner likes will fan vid everything, and so that we have like weird knowledge and also weird understandings of shows sometimes. Like where I'm like, so is someone a murderer? You know what I mean? Like I think there might be a murder going on in the show. I don't know. I've just been watching videos of people kissing. But yeah, we'll save that conversation for another time. Fan vid podcast coming up, y'all.
I'm so looking.
I'll show you all the ones that make me cry.
Oh my God! Wow, this has to happen now. Sharifa, I understand that you are, the odd one out here tonight a little bit. You have not seen the episodes fully. You've seen a little bit of the first episode. Is that correct?
Fully.
Okay. But now,
so I watched like the first 30 minutes.
Gotcha. Okay, so you've seen about like a fifth of what we're talking about so far here tonight, maybe a sixth or so. Perfect. I do know that you've seen all the intro videos though of the players. You have some opinions on who maybe your faves are, or who people you want to keep your eye on.
Oh, I can tell you who my favorite is.
Please,
it's not going to change.
So yeah, let's talk.
Angelicious is in the house.
Angela. Okay, all right. Let's talk about her. What exactly stands out for you?
She's so funny. She's so funny. Like, oh my God. And so unintentionally funny. Like, she's not trying to make anyone like laugh hysterically at her for 30 minutes. She is just being herself, and herself is everything I've ever needed before in my life.
I think there's at least a little bit of self-awareness there, right? But she's being extra, right? But I think she's naturally extra, so it's really good TV. I like the relationship between her and somebody you haven't seen yet, Sharifa, Garth. I think that is like a really great relationship. And he calls himself Anti-Garth.
Listen, trust Anti-Garth. Trust Anti-Garth.
And they're so cute. They love each other. And I think that, he's a queer white man, and I don't know her sexuality.
I think
she's got a kid, but that doesn't tell us anything.
No, you're right.
She said she had a husband.
I think she mentioned her husband.
Oh, okay.
And
So
kids
she has a husband and kid.
Yeah.
But I think but she's a Black woman, and I think there are a lot of like relationships that we've seen that between those two demographics before, and the pureness of them both being like, "Girl, we got each other," is so cute. Yeah, even though, as she said, "But you didn't have me," at one point. That's a spoiler.
Well, I mean, no spoilers on this podcast, please.
Come on.
We're only talking about the first 30 minutes of the show.
Yeah, we're only talking about the first 30 minutes of episode 1. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I will have a hard opinion on everything, regardless if I watched it or not, as you all have already experienced.
No, but I commented the thing.
I was nervous, and I even texted Suzi. I was like, is she going to be targeted? Because she is a bigger personality. She's a woman of color. And that, even in BBUS, we see that as a very early target. And Australia, we'll get into it at some point in this podcast. I know we will. So I'm really nervous for her that at some point she's going to start getting words referred to her as like aggressive and dangerous in the game and all these things. So I'm really nervous for her, but I really hope that she lasts long, because she is just like, she is the entertainment. She is the moment.
Yeah, and
I
it's
was
a
worried
shame-
for her too. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, I guess you haven't seen it yet, Sharifa, but you'll get to it. I mean, something similar to that, even though it's not Angela, does kind of happen.
Yes.
So yeah, and we'll definitely, I mean, get into that.
Sharifa knows who's gone so far.
I'm spoiled on all that stuff.
So one of the things I wanted to touch on, and I mean, all you Big Brother International people, I don't know how far you all go back and watching International Big Brothers, but for Angela, I got very serious Nikki Graham vibes from Big Brother UK season 7.
Oh,
like essentially the exact same time, first episode, coming into the house and immediately having an issue with Nikki screaming about bottled water and
Nikki
Angela screaming about tea.
Nikki was also on Big Brother Canada, right? That's
She
his
was,
name, Nikki.
yeah.
I never saw her. I know who she is just by the name Nikki and the attitude and the fit throwing. Yes,
but it was almost like legitimately the same diary room session, only about tea instead of bottled water. And it just made me think, like, was that something that she was thinking about going in to have that big moment initially? Because it just seemed so similar. But
I don't. Yeah. Okay.
Did you see up to that point, Sharifa, where she was upset about the tea, not having tea in the house?
Oh, they all saw my reaction.
Okay,
to that segment.
Good.
That's one of the great things about this. For those who haven't watched it, Big Brother Australia or an international version of almost any kind of programming, it's not the same as the US. And they are so much more willing to poke fun and to have a little humor and the whole interaction between Angela and Big Brother. By the way, Big Brother in this version is a character, a person.
Love
it is
that.
not. It is not.
I've enjoyed it.
Right. And this season, unlike other seasons they just address whoever's talking to them as Big Brother, and they've got one main Big Brother person that does the voice. This season, I don't know if this is an actual actor or if it's a electronic voice that they're typing in the comments and it's reading it out, but it's very good, and it just forces them to kind of interact with them as a person. And the interaction back and forth between Angela and Big Brother was like, well, this is my house now. And she's like, no, it's my house, Angela. And just the back and forth is just edited so well and done so well. It's what makes you love these kind of shows, and you just don't see that on CBS.
No,
did you see JD's comment a while back on the chat? He said, "Comrade Angela, this is our house." Yes, that was it. Comrade Queen, I love it.
Let's be clear, it is Angela's house. I just want to make sure that is written down.
There's a reason why she was the last person to come in. They knew they were going to get an entrance with her.
And they did that. When she said, look, for last person in the house is already giving directions. And then she said, oh, I'm the last one in the house. But still, they noticed it right away how she came in and just tried to take control.
Yeah,
she has, I was just going to say she has diva vibes, but as the show's going on, she's giving me more Victoria, which I know we were just talking about. Like, she does have, like, demands, but she's also emotional. She's also... like just more kind of spoiled, and I could see her being them taking her as a goat.
Yeah,
like I think nobody is threatened by Angela right now.
Here's
the only
thing,
problem she'll have is if the diva gets her into fights.
It's interesting because of the way this is formatted. Obviously, Big Brother Australia used to be purely public vote every eviction.
Yeah.
Now we're in a situation where it is pretty much U.S. rules.
It's
but
very similar to season 2 of BBUS, except with 3 nominees instead of 2. There's no POV.
No head of household. It's not really a head of household. It's,
right.
They don't get their own room.
I actually kind of liked them all staying in the same room. I think that's very interesting.
Oh yeah,
the snoring segment.
That would so be me. Mallory
that would be me
too. As we are watching that, she's like, "You snore really bad." That would absolutely be you. God.
Yep.
Do they get into a showman's? Not to like go and dive into episode 2, but him.
We haven't seen it yet.
They haven't seen it. It seems that way though.
They're definitely close, I would say.
Her talking about him hating her on the first day gave me that like Bad Girls moment where she's like, that girl's hated me since day 1. It's like, girl, it is day 1.
It's a very unique show this season is because everything's been recorded before. So for me, this is the first time where I'm watching Big Brother, but with like the survivor mindset of trying to read what they want me to know.
Oh,
Right.
you can see the editing
Oh,
in the
yeah.
second episode. You could definitely see the editing. In the second episode, you could definitely see the editing.
Yeah, and like the thing I want to point out here is that we're talking about episode 1. They fucked up recording this because they recorded everything. The eviction happened for the first boot, and they forgot to finalize the recording. They didn't have the file, so they had to redo a bunch of shots. I couldn't.
Oh, I
see
forgot
them.
about that.
Yeah,
Really?
but I remember reading on that. So for the first eviction, they reshot a lot of the ceremony and everything. That wasn't there.
Gosh.
So with that in mind, like knowing, so like seeing Talia and is it David? Yes, David. Or Daniel.
Daniel. Oh, okay. I was
Seeing
like,
these two interact, it's like, are you telling me to look at them and keep an eye on them? Because I have a feeling we're gonna see them end up being more than what they are right now, which is like these weird, like, I'm gonna push her in the mud because I don't
like
like
a third
her.
grade crush type.
Yeah, exactly.
what they call it on Canada, a beef mance.
Beef mance.
Yeah, I mean,
remember-
we can actually read the edits and make accurate predictions, most likely as who we expect to go far and who's end game kind of thing, just based upon the edit, right?
I mean,
I'm telling you right now,
there.
Xavier's not winning this show.
Exactly.
I mean, he's been showed 15 seconds in 2 episodes.
No, that's not
Unique
necessarily
name
true, though.
doesn't
Oh, wait.
exist.
That doesn't matter. The people they may know that Daniel is going out tomorrow. And
that's also
so
true.
We're going to get the bunch of edit of him because there are that's the total difference between Big Brother and Survivor is that they have the entire show in their hands and they know who wins. So maybe we don't bring that winner until a couple of episodes in. Maybe we need to feature the ones that are going to be gone quick in certain ways. I mean, there's all kinds of manipulation that can go on. And to the note about Daniel, when he was meeting Sonia, by the way, I love Sonia. She's not going to get enough airtime on this season. She was much better in the last 3 seasons where she spent more time. But Sonia kind of flirted with Daniel and stuff. And he said, oh, no, I have a significant other outside, or I have someone outside I'm trying to repair things with. So that could feed into if something does happen with him and Talia, that they'll be, well, how do you think your girlfriend feels or your potential girlfriend? Yeah. There's always that inside-outside drama.
I assume.
Also, we should comment on the fact that, so what I was getting at is the final 3. So the winner is not decided, right? They're going to get down to 3, and then Australia, the voting public, is going to decide from those 3 who wins. So once again,
oh, really?
Editing can be your friend.
Exactly. So they can edit it however they want, and knowing that this is the person that we want to push. This is the person that we feel would be the best winner. And I think, I mean, my hopes are, it's very early, but my hopes are high for Angela right now. I think she has a fantastic edit through 2 episodes, and I was going to say,
if you're enjoying the few Angela moments that you've seen, just wait. There's plenty more in the first episode.
I feel better now knowing that everything. When I should have clicked this together, that everything is filmed, because it's just seeing her first 30 minutes on the first episode. She gives me longevity. I was looking at it as a normal Big Brother episode where it's just this week, which I knew was not the case.
Yeah, her intro is so long in comparison to other people's intros.
Yeah.
I don't even know, honestly, I don't think I wrote Xavier's name down. I forgot when he was on screen.
There's a few names I don't have, and Xavier is one of them.
There are 2 girls that I keep confusing, and they're about to put a 3rd girl in there that looks exactly the same, and I can't do it because also when they do their makeup up versus the publicity photos, they look very different sometimes, and I can't tell which one is Casey and which one is the other girl whose name I don't even remember.
Sophie just came in. Sophie came in the second day.
Oh my god, I thought Casey just came in.
Sophie
I can't tell which one's being flirting with.
I gave you a cheat sheet that told you the days that people came in.
Yeah, you created I saw that. So I saw the website you sent.
Did you make that?
No, that's just. I just took all the images.
Yeah, there's a photo one in the chat.
In the chat,
I made it. Chat?
Yeah,
in our chat. I was so worried about Sharifa in the chat.
Yeah, what I noticed they did with the video packages, because Angela did get one of the longer ones to start. Australian Survivor does the same thing, where they don't give their big proper video pack for everyone on the premiere, but they'll have 1 or 2 in the second episode, and 1 in the third. So, with that being said, you are right, Mike, because given that there are people that are going to be gone, we're guaranteed an eviction per episode. So this obviously plays differently than other Big Brothers. There are going to be people that they're going to have to show us if they want us to even care about them getting removed, right? So but then the whole thing at the end with the fan vote is concerning because we watched on Big Brother Canada. Was a BB Can 6 where all it took was one episode for them to make Ryan seem so sympathetic that the audience voted to save that guy. Whereas people didn't care about him going into that episode. So the power
Trust
of editing
the
is
process,
real.
Ryan.
Yeah. So this is a fascinating season for me just because not only are we going to get a lot of character-driven stuff, they're longer episodes, we're getting an eviction every episode, but then just using the eye of like, what do I think is going to happen, predicting that stuff, like it's just a whole fascinating concept on what we know to be Big Brother.
And I was just going to say, I think that the producers have a heavy hand in a way that I think is interesting. For example, we saw Talia already have like a heel turn, and I thought it was really prominent in a way that I had to kind of remind myself that it was produced. You know, I was just like, this is a big ass heel turn, and I was like, oh right, because they know what's happening in the show. So it was interesting to see. So but, should we go in order, or should we talk about each guest? How do you want to do this, TR?
Yeah, we can talk about all of the house guests. So we've talked pretty heavily about Angela. We've talked a little bit about some of the other ones. Was there anyone else who stood out to anyone prominently that we haven't talked about yet?
Kieran got the obvious, the very beginning. He was the lead character of the first, half hour at least of, they gave him a task. You have to introduce. That's a fun little, which I know they've done that in Big Brother US. Maybe we're going to give you a challenge, but it's done so much better in Australia, in the UK. They've given tasks sometimes to UK people when they've come into the house where you have to have a secret code word with everybody that comes in the house and they can't figure it out. That's a fun little game to play. And watching Kieran weave his way through all that was fun. Watching his frustrations, and you're kind of rooting for him to succeed. I enjoyed that. I enjoy him, and I think he went through a whole story arc between in the first two episodes.
He did.
And I was rooting for him at the start because he's kind of like, oh, he's a little bit socially awkward and he's having to do all this stuff. And then he went so hardcore when he got nominated the first episode. And then he miraculously seemed to, he's vindicated in the second episode where he kind of talks himself. He appears to talk. He's edited so it looks like he talks himself out of it. I don't know if he really did or not based on the vote at the end. Because the vote at the end sure didn't there's no way he worked that kind of magic.
Both times. I was like, this insane that you've only gotten a total of 3 over 2 episodes. For sure.
The vote does not reflect what we were seeing on the show, which to me means there's a lot of editing going on here. And if we had live feeds, we'd have a totally different feel for this game and these people.
I think also, though, one of these things for the Australian Big Brother is that it's still so unfamiliar with them, right? For years and years, and obviously it hasn't been on in a while, but for every season of Big Brother Australia, it was forbidden to talk strategy. It was forbidden to talk about nominations. So for someone who's obviously a fan, I would bet Kieran's a fan of US Big Brother. I would bet on that. For him to fully go on board and embrace the strategic aspect, I think a lot of these people took it as a negative because they're like, whoa, that's not what we do here. We've never seen that. Whereas he was one of the few that was willing to embrace it, which made him look, negative from the start. I like Kieran. I feel like in these international Big Brothers, the first person in is always very important because you need somebody who's going to be vocal, who's a super fan. It's almost always the biggest fan who goes in first, who's like, oh, I can't believe this house. Oh my God, I'm here. And talking to Big Brother, you always send that person in first, and you always give them the task to, make it fun because that's the person who's going to make it the most fun. And Kieran really did. I thought he embraced it fully, and I thought it was really great to watch. I started losing momentum on him on the second episode, but the first episode I was totally there, and I was thrilled that he stayed. Yeah,
I will say their choice for mission, it was a lot to ask
of a person. So much. It was so much.
It's okay, give everyone nicknames, which, by the way, TR, if you don't refer to Louie as L-Dog for at least a couple weeks, opportunity missed.
Yeah,
putting that out there.
Okay, I'm down for that.
Yeah, nicknames, handshake, high five. And then, I'm sorry, but I feel like in 2020, making someone massage everyone, whether they like it or not, is just so sketchy. But not everyone's going to be okay with that.
But he did a good job. He kind of worked it in.
It worked out for him.
Let me get a kind of a pat on the back. Oh, yeah. And then that was it. Just very brief in and out.
I also felt like they set him up because he looked like fucking weird.
Yeah.
Right, with the neck, with
like
the
such a
nicknames,
little,
the
like,
massages, and the
spaz, like a weirdo,
and the
like,
handshakes. The handshakes, they all like noticed the handshake when they were like, there was a task that he had to do. Oh my god, that was a terrible. I'm gonna speak normal.
It was beautiful.
That was so good, Suzi. You should talk like that the rest of the show.
There was a task he had to do. They were like, oh god, I hope it was the handshakes because those were weird. So they set him up with that, and then they also set him up because he looked sneaky. You know what I mean? They were like, well, we know somebody here can keep a secret kind of situation. Yeah. And they set him up because he was already playing the game. And for a super fan who's already in game mode, once he got nominated, his game mode went like and totally off the wheel or off. How does that phrase go? Mute.
Off the tracks?
Yes. Off the tracks. This is all live, folks.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, at first I was like, okay, that's an interesting mission. All right. And then as like they kept adding details on, I was like, are you okay? Come on. Okay, seriously? Like, it's like they want to set him up to fail. Like, it's like they want to make this guy the first boot because he's gonna like fail. None of them are gonna get bedrooms, and then what are they gonna do? They're all gonna like sleep on the floor in the rest of the house. Like, they're gonna be pissed at him. So like, it just seems so unfair.
I found it unnecessary.
Yeah, like it was like so much.
I didn't get like entertainment factor from it. You know, I feel like yes, and
I don't want anyone to touch me. I don't like massages that are professional. I was like, if somebody touched me like that, I'd be like, oh.
I would be uncomfortable. I would be like, okay,
no man,
come on, like, all right, come on.
No man.
I loved Ian though. Ian gave him a little massage back. Did y'all see that when he like? They were like walking down the hall, and he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "It's so good to have you there." And
Ian's new to this. Ian's like, "Oh, is this what humans do? Cool." Because Ian doesn't know any better.
Oh, I like.
Ian's got my heart. He's
Ian's my favorite. I have a lot to say about Ian.
Let me pull up that little cheat sheet chart you gave us, Mike. Let me as a visual reference here.
Yeah, I'm doing it now. It's a savior.
It's over here.
Mike, did you make
Crocodile Dundee?
Okay, there we go.
Dundee.
Yes. So this is a spoilers episode, by the way. I hope that has been obvious up to this point. So the people with the red marks over them, spoiler, they were eliminated in the first two episodes. People grayed out are people who still have yet to enter the house, but will be entering in tomorrow, I believe. Tomorrow's episode.
Subang domination is upon us. Get ready.
You can't see there's blue and a green outline on. 4 of them have a green outline. You can't really see it very much. It's Sophie. Oh. It's Sophie, Sarah, Garth, and
Chad.
Yeah,
and
those are the 4.
What does that mean?
They entered on today's episode. So you haven't seen them yet.
I was gonna say, I remember Chad. He's cute as hell.
Yeah,
he's a model.
Yes,
that explains it.
All I did,
that's
honestly,
exactly what they say to him too.
all I did, TR, is I went to the Big Brother Australia webpage and they had a list of the cast members, and I resized the window so it lined up perfect like this, and I hit print screen and saved it, and then added the extra stuff. It was actually very easy to cheat on this one.
It's a good little graph. So thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Yep. I love so let me think. Anybody else? Alan had a long video package.
Sharifa, you said you really liked Alan, right?
I loved Alan's video, and I also watched Alan's video, and I'm like, yeah, he's gonna be a first boo because like I really appreciate
Alan is here.
Also with his accent, I thought he was saying Alec. I was like, okay, Alec.
Oh, love his accent. No, like with Alan, you could tell he was such a big character, and like you could feel the culture that he was coming from, and that he was a very dominant personality, and he's been able to be a dominant personality in his life. And that's hard enough coming into the Big Brother house, like just normal. But you have to put on top of that the fact that he is a man of color, and it's just going to like exemplify that even more and make it even more apparent to people. Mm-hmm. And we'll get more into this conversation because I really want to have it. But like I saw that video and I'm like, I love him. He's gonna be leaving early.
I like that he came in with a strategic mind for the game. So I appreciated that, and I was rooting for him for that. I love that he brings, a new background into it, a new walk of life into it. But I also was disappointed I felt that he was doing way too much, and he had no idea that he was doing way too much. Like, he was moving, especially when he gets nominated in the second episode. I was like, oh, you are self-imploding, buddy. And like, as a gamer, I feel like you've made a big mistake. He put his hand in too many cookie jars to start. And in a show where, you know, Mike's talked about how the formatting has been different. Louie talked about how, like, you know, Big Brother wasn't like this. It wasn't a competitive strategic game before. So when you're coming in as a fan of the North American version of the strategic game, you got to understand that not many of these people know that's what they're signing up for. So they're going to be turned off by that, especially if you're dialing to 100. Like, people within the first introductory phase were like, oh, he's too high energy. Like, he was shot out of a cannon, which as a viewer, love it. But I was like, if you're a big fan of gameplay, if you're a big fan of strategy, like, you need to pump the brakes at least a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, he was like night one being like, that person's a lot, huh? Like, trying, and I was like, do you think it's subtle? And then when he was nominated, Angela and him were like in the kitchen, and she was like, I'm just upset. We need to campaign. And he was like screaming, but we're fine. We're all on the same page.
He was like, I'm not a politician. Why do I need a campaign? Like,
yeah, it was too obvious. I think a lot of times, especially with Big Brother and different, you know, different versions, they come out of casting and some people just drop the facade immediately, right? They're one character in casting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Be over the top, get in there, and they completely drop it. And then there's other people on the other hand who keep it going at that high level, and it's too much right off the bat. And I think that was the thing with Alan. Do I believe he's like that in everyday life all the time? Probably not, but I think he kept that going when he got into the house, which is what got him on the show and got him cast, and people just were not having it. I liked him a lot. I loved his energy. You know, I hate that he's already gone because I think it would have been a lot of fun to watch him maneuver, but, you know, he just overplayed, and, you know, Kieran's been in trouble. Alan went in the second episode, and it's because they're playing, and it's a shame, but they just need to realize this isn't American Big Brother. Like, it's going to take some time. It'll probably take till next season before people really get into that mode and go into that house and are like, okay, I have a strategy in mind. I'm ready to, you know, backstab. The winner of this, I guarantee you, is not going to be the best game player, right? It's going to be somebody who's well-liked, and that's what you still have to look for right now.
Yeah, I think we could have BBUS winners who would win this game still, because they know how to lay low in a strategic way. I think Dan could probably win this BB, because he would always, like, he was the master of moving the target, right? And they are looking for targets who are playing the game too hard, and Dan was always managed to just be like, oh, I can't win comps, or, you know, everybody hates me. I mean, he manages to find ways to move the target off of him, and I think Kieran,
I mean, that sounds like a lot like Dr. Will as well, too. Like, never winning a comp.
Well, Dr. Will was really explicit in, like, his copy.
Oh, of course.
In a way that I think would have benefited Alan. If Alan, instead of coming to the DR and being like, Alan's going to win because Alan, if he had gone out there and kind of projected that persona, he might have had a better way. But he was just so clearly fake with everyone. It was just ridiculous. I mean, you don't go to Big Brother and go, why would I campaign? I'm not a politician. Like, we don't know what the game is. I mean, I think it offended people, honestly. I'm like...
The worry I have is that we watch this, we appreciate good gameplay, we appreciate strategic thought, we appreciate all of that. So my worry is, obviously, this is the first season for Australia where they've done this, and I don't really know. I can't channel the Australian audience, but I have watched BB UK, and I have seen what the voters reward there. I've watched The Circle. I see who they vouch for. Typically, it's the nicer person. It's the person that's a character, the person that's there for the journey, not for the manipulation, not for the gameplay. So it does worry me intensely, because if you have a Dan, like, cerebral, under the radar, I'm going to slice you without you knowing player, because the vote comes at the end from the audience, I worry that person will not get rewarded. And someone like an Xavier, who we don't know anything about besides the fact that he has probably the coolest name and the least appearance, if he's just unassuming, no one knows him, but he's been nice and he hugged everyone goodbye, he could win over anyone on this cast that, like, turns on the gameplay, and it worries me.
Well, that's where it feels like this game is like an in-between between the BBK version and the North American version. It's sort of like straddling that line of like strategic gameplay, but also there is going to be that fan vote right at the end. And I'm not a huge fan of that, to be honest. I'd rather it be one or the other, because sort of straddling the line makes it unclear how to play. Like, do you strategically maneuver through, or do you just focus on being an entertaining character while avoiding being eliminated? Like, it's kind of all in there.
Yeah, I feel like the first result of this season will say a lot, right? Like, if a huge game player who really is playing hard wins, then maybe people come back next season and say, okay, well, that's what the Australian public values. That's how we're going to play. But if we get a serious game player who comes in second to the nice guy or the nice lady, then everybody's going to come back next season and not wanting to play hard because they're going to want that public approval. So it's important what happens here.
Oh, sorry, I was glitching. I was just saying that Circle UK, I think it was season 2, where it wasn't a fan vote at the end, but the most strategic player on that game was hated. Like straight up hated by the public. So I'm not confident that the Australian audience is going to reward the more strategic ones in the cast.
No, and Louie is absolutely right, because we think about our shows, right? We think about Richard Hatch winning Survivor, set the precedent of be strategic, have alliances, play the game. And then with Dr. Will winning Big Brother 2, that set the, again, play the game, be strategic. Like, that is a rewarded thing. If all the winners for like the first couple of seasons were just bland people that were just walking through, then that deters anyone from wanting to play that way. And I think the public vote will say a lot in what happens for season 2. This is because this is the first season, like this is like the test run. We're most likely going to get a result like that, where like the strategic person will not win. But if they do, it changes everything. Like, this is going to be an even more intense, fun show next season and the season after that. So we'll just have to wait and see how that goes.
I think Ian could win.
Yeah, that would be.
He's getting a really good edit right now. And he's being very nice. So if a nice person wins, I think it could easily be Ian. So somebody else who got a long video package was Marissa.
Marissa was a lot of fun. I am interested to see where she goes. She's from aerobics fame with her triplet sisters.
Wait, she brought aerobics to Australia, correct?
Well, that's what she says.
That's what she claims.
That's...
And who are we to challenge that?
The Rankin sisters, is that what it was? The Rankin sisters?
The video from her and her sisters moving back then seemed rather stilted and stiff. I'm like, wow, you didn't have to have much rhythm when you were doing aerobics back then, for sure.
This is like the twin twist, but with triplets.
That would be fun.
Was she wearing the pink sparkle dress?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me move over to her. Sorry.
The blonde.
There we go.
There we go.
Yes, I'm obsessed with that dress. I want it. I live for it. We're a Marissa stan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that Marissa was fine. I think the most thing that she's done so far in the first 2 episodes is reacted. Like, she reacted a lot to Angela.
She makes a lot of faces.
And she reacted a lot to Laura.
Yeah.
So we'll see. She did not like it when Laura took over talking about the rations, which is funny because they call them rations in Australia, and I'm like, damn, y'all like straight military with this. You are like, you get 1 hard-boiled egg.
Well, they are under. So there's the what TR said. They have a basic list of stuff they get, and they're going to have a chance to earn money to buy more stuff. So it's a device to create tension. That's why it's there.
I'm not a fan of that, honestly. I think there are too many EDs out there to be fucking around with restricting people's food. I just think it's like it's a serious situation to me.
I mean, some of the big. Oh, go ahead, Sherry.
No, Louie, please go.
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, we've seen some of the biggest fights and ridiculous things, like really over, like ridiculous things, like I'm trying to think back to some of the things that, caused tension in these different Big Brothers, like, ordering a very specific thing on the shopping list.
All of one thing.
Yeah, what was like absolute like brawls. Like, and that's the
Chef
thing. If you
Joe,
haven't seen like Big Brother UK style fights, it's very different. And they go for like an hour just screaming and yelling and throwing things. It's very different from what we're used to in the US, and it's all over shopping lists. Like, it seems so minor, but that's what sets people off. And when you have people who are hungry and people who want very specific things and a very small budget, it does cause drama.
I don't know. I don't know how much any of these little side things are going to play. I think the original idea, I think the season was supposed to be more than 20 episodes, right? This got compressed. So. This has been compressed because of COVID-19. And I really think that some of these things that we would see in a full-length season are going to be edited out and omitted. They're going to have to stay pretty tight on the storyline of who's going to go, who's going to get evicted, the gameplay. They're going to show the thing. And I really think we're going to miss some character development just because they have so little time to build those stories for those people. And I think the food thing, I think that's probably not going to be that noticeable. It's kind of going to go about. They're using the tea thing right now as an example, as a that's the angle where that with Angela not getting tea.
Yeah. And Laura, I think at one point Laura says that they're going to keep her because she cooks. That's never a good sign. I don't think anybody who's ever been like, they're going to keep me because I clean or they keep me because I cook has ever stayed past the episode they say that in.
Well, but Laura was a vegan as well, right?
She was a vegan, but she made the bread, and that was like important. Everybody eats bread, so yeah.
To harp off of what Mike 2 was saying, you can tell in the edit that I don't think they know what they want the show to be yet. It's like, is it the BBUS format? Is it like back to how normally BBUK is run? And to bring up to your point that now everything's going to have to get expedited, I'm actually really excited about that because I think what they need is a push into that more strategic gameplay because, like I said, I don't think you can teeter that line and you got to pick a side. And if they're going to try this, they need to really try it. So I'm hopeful that we're going to see more of an eye for gameplay as the episodes move on. And also it's going to be interesting to see how people grasp gameplay. Like, I think JD brought up someone being targeted for being likable. Are they going to know to target people for being likable? Like, it's just such a new environment for them that I don't know if they're going to be aware of fully how to navigate.
Agreed. I'm also interested in the rules of like comps and stuff like that. Can one person just run the table? Like, can
it
they?
Looks
they
like
were
it.
eligible to participate.
Yeah. Talia played 2 in a row.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That is a good point. So let's maybe let's talk about the first nomination comp. So
that was very cool.
It was very cool. So far, both of these comps, not to necessarily jump too ahead, but both the comps from the first episode and the second episode, I actually thought were very cool, interesting comps that I think I would love to see something similar to on a BBUS season. In the first one, we have all the players are lying on their stomachs. On a really fast rotating swing, the momentum of which is being built up by them. There are bars that they can push off of at different heights, and each one that they push up higher and higher up builds their momentum. At the top, there are 5 pegs that they are meant to put plastic balls on top of. They have little satchels attached to their swing that have a total of 50 balls, and that's all the attempts that they get at putting those balls on those pegs. If they run out of balls, they're out. It looked a little intimidating. I was kind of with Kieran on this one, where like I don't know how far into this comp I would have gotten. This looked very hard and a little scary.
It was definitely favored for the people that were in better physical shape and had a better muscle to body weight, I guess is the best way to say it. I mean, you could have a big guy if he had a lot of muscles, or a big woman if they had a lot of muscles. But someone who was heavier like Kieran who probably wasn't in very good shape. There was just, he could have to push his entire body off constantly. It would just wear you down, which it did wear him down. And I know that I wouldn't have been able to compete with some of those people. Laura obviously tore it up, and it made for a great story in the way that Talia came back at the end there. It worked out great dramatically.
Oh yeah, it was neck and neck. It was really, really close. So you had I think there was maybe like one or two people that had like one ball or something like that. It was pretty pitiful.
Daniel, Talia, and Laura seemed to be the only three that were in it at all.
Right. And so like for the most part, it was between Talia and Laura. They were like neck and neck. Talia got really close, and then didn't she like knock a ball off or something?
She knocked like three off, I think.
Oh man, yeah. She had to restart. She had to reset. It was so close. Like or at least in the edit, they made it look like it was so close.
Yeah, the editing for the challenges and also for the eviction, which I was going to get into, very reminiscent, and it makes sense because it's the same channel, of Survivor Australia. It's basically the same dramatic music. Like they edit it very specifically, and I love the way Survivor Australia edits it because it really does ramp up the tension of it, and you could feel it immediately with that challenge, and then also with the I was going to say tribal council with the eviction, which doesn't usually happen.
That. Yeah. I liked how they did the eviction process. That was good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed Angela in this competition. I don't know if y'all already talked about her while I was off.
No, not yet.
Okay, Angela, that's where I was like, oh, girl might survive this show. It was swinging, and she couldn't swing. You had to push yourself from a bar. And granted, it looked exhausting after a while, but she couldn't swing once. She could not swing once. She let herself go and never came back up. And she just watched them and kept going, how are you doing it? How are you doing it? Again, I apologize for the accent, but it was
great. I think you got better.
That's the goal. By the end, I'll be fluent. It was definitely the highlight
fluent
of
in a
the
dialect.
episode.
I love that.
Yes, people will be like, a real Aussie. I didn't even know what football was really. So, but yeah. Footy.
Yes.
Footy. Because it was AFL. It wasn't soccer. Because I wrote down soccer, and then I was like, that's not a soccer ball. And my partner was like, no, it's AFL.
I think it was Australian rules football.
Yeah. And I couldn't figure that out. But Angela was amazing in that moment. And I think that, yes, as Phil says in the chat, if she had tea, she would have won. She kept saying, I just need some sugar. I just need some sugar. I need tea because I need sugar. And it was amazing.
Like Popeye's spinach. Once you get tea.
Yes, exactly. It was fantastic. Sharifa, you are in.
I'm so excited.
You are in for a treat. She's like, how? And Laura's like flying. Like she's literally like above the bar for several moments.
Well, there must have been a rule that you can't hang on, right? Because
I didn't understand why you couldn't just pull yourself up.
It was like, that's what I kept thinking. They must have told them they couldn't, because otherwise it would be so much easier to just, when you get over there, just hang on, put the ball down, and then swing yourself back.
Pooya?
I do not. Colossal Apostle. I don't have one. I'm sorry.
Damn.
I can only do it saying a couple words. So like, because I watched Love Island Australia.
Okay.
So like, woman of color.
That's
pretty good. That's really good.
Okay.
And then that's it.
I can't.
Mike?
I don't do. Good day, Mike. Put some shrimp on the
all
bobby.
better than mine. Mine are very bad. So Louie?
So there's, from watching Big Brother Australia, there's certain words that by the end of the season,
I couldn't think of it.
like I take on, and like somebody will be like, I remember specifically like a morning conversation where, do we have any cereal left? And the guy was like, oh, we got heaps more. So
there you go.
So now I say heaps all the time. Oh, we got heaps of it.
I could try doing oats a la Layla, but that's not an Australian accent. So yeah, that's.
It's also like you have to go higher.
Everything goes up. Yes.
Of a syllable.
Right.
Oh, another one. Are you enjoying this? Oh yeah, I'm loving it. Sick. That's it.
TR, I think you're up.
Big Brother.
You sound like an orphan from like you're like.
I can only do like.
Can I have some
I can
more?
only do
Some more,
British.
please?
I can't do Australian.
Yeah.
I can't even. It's what.
You say all aboard?
Mind
All
the gap.
aboard.
On Love Island Australia, they use this term like early days. They go, it's still early days.
Mhm.
And oh, that was bad. Please do not anyone remember that. Delete that from the live recording. But early days, which is like means like new for them. We need to look up all the Australian vernacular.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed during the to jump ahead a little bit in the episode 2 competition with the retrieving the flag from the ice. All the measures Daniel took to try and win, and someone's like, "What are you doing over there?" And he's like, "Trying to win the competition, babe." That was pretty good.
There's a fabulous photo of Angela licking the ice, and I didn't know where that was from, and now I do, and I cannot wait to watch that either.
She's pretty great. She's pretty great. So after here's something that I was really that would make it very difficult to me. Then I'm interested in seeing how strategy plays forward, and this is as soon as you win, you walk from the competition to the nomination room. There's no campaigning. There's no time to talk to your people that you are your allies or the people you're going to put up, your noms. So you go there and like so Talia's like, I won, and she's like, oh god, and is like crying on like before she even like gets there. And then we really in this moment she's very endearing, I think. And she's like, I don't know who to put up. And she puts up 2 noms, and we don't see her 3rd nom until the show.
Right.
So was that because I thought it was going to be a big name as the 3rd one. I thought like, oh god, this is going to be Ian or something, and then it was someone we had never even heard from. So I was like, well, if that works out, yeah, Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe. I was
Z-Dog?
like, okay.
Z-Dog.
Yeah, Z-Dog. He was terrible at nicknames too, by the way.
Everyone was just dog. It was dog. Who was it that I missed it? I think I stepped out of the room, but Mallory told me that there was someone that he was like, I'm going to call you,
It was
L-Dog or
Laura,
whatever.
Don't ever call me that.
She's like, don't ever call me that.
Yeah. I did like Crocodile Dundee for Ian, though. I felt it appropriate. And he was like, has anyone ever said that to you? And he was like, no.
He doesn't talk to people. This was his first interaction with a human.
Yeah,
Blizzard has never said that to me.
I want to discuss Ian for sure, because Ian is my favorite character.
He's my winner pick.
I could see him winning too, honestly. If he doesn't go home for being too likable at any point, I could see him winning.
If he gets to the end, if he gets to the final 3, he wins, right? Like that's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
And people need to realize that they need to boot him beforehand. But I mean, always the brand of a good international Big Brother player is someone who grows over the course of the season, right? Who becomes someone else. Like all the people that I'm thinking of, and I won't, go into all the names because I'm sure nobody's ever heard of them, but like, they go through a process and come in as one person and leave as a better person. And they're able to articulate that at the end and say, this is what I've learned on my journey. This is why Big Brother has made me a better person. And it wins them the game almost every time because people love to see that. And I think I'm not sure if Ian is exactly who he says he is. If he is coming in with any sort of a game plan, it's genius that he's playing this role. I read a little bit last night, and obviously I feel like gossip mags are bigger in like the UK and Australia and stuff, but like, is Ian a party boy? Like I read some article about that where he has a girlfriend and he's been seen out boozing. Like, does that make him not exactly who he says he is? Who knows? But I could see a case where he is intelligent enough to know what would get him the win. We've seen it happen before, and if he's just amping it up, I'm sure he collects rocks and all that, but he may just be amping it up a little bit more to go in there and really play the game. And that wouldn't surprise me, and kudos to him if so.
He got me. I got by Ian. So she nominates Laura. She says she makes no effort and and that they're competitive with each other. That she didn't like the face that Laura made when Talia beat her. Which I'm like, girl, you just beat her. Just say it. Just say, Laura could kick my ass in these competitions. Let's be honest. That girl's athletic as fuck, But no, she's like, she made a bad face at me and doesn't want to connect with me, which is like Kieran, because she thinks he's not being himself and she can't trust him. Do y'all think that's about strategy, about him being strategic, or we didn't really see their interactions before this? So what do y'all think that she was basing that on?
I mean, she talks about how he's like faking who he is, and it's like, yeah, he had to try and befriend all of you to get you a bed. So obviously that's part of it. But I feel like this is something we see a lot in, what character you fall into on these shows, where the person that ends up in the nerdy, quote, nerdy role of like the socially awkward one, when they try and do a lot, because you look at them and you're like, oh, wait, you're supposed to be awkward and talking to people, it's fake if they're doing too much. But also, if he doesn't do enough, it's like, well, he kind of doesn't belong here because he doesn't really get along with anybody. We'll pluck him. So being the person that ends up in that role is the most lose-lose situation, because no matter what, you're looked at either as someone who's untrustworthy, or you are socially awkward, or you're a super fan and you're conniving. So you're just screwed if you're coming in as the Kieran, especially when you're given the mission to be the most vocal night one.
I mean, I just feel like she chose two outsiders very easily. She chose
Zoe too, don't forget.
Yeah. Well, she didn't talk about why she chose her. She was just like, for the third one, I don't know why. And then it like cut. So we didn't actually ever get to see her talk about why she chose Zoe. But for the first two, we didn't see them interact. And I feel like they were the opposite. She was like, well, this one is too nice and that's fake, and this one is not nice enough and that's fake.
So let's take off the pretendness here and let's talk real. She probably saw Laura as the biggest threat. Got to get her out. I'm going to put her up. I'm going to put up Kieran, because you know what? Nobody's going to be mad at me if I put up Kieran, because he's already kind of a little bit on everybody's bad list. And I'll put up Zoe because she knows me well enough and she trusts me. I'm going to make sure she's safe because we're friends. And that was her 3 easy to put up. She's not going to tick off too many people. She felt safe enough with Zoe that she'd keep her safe. She really wanted Laura gone. Everybody saw how Laura won, and she was a huge target. That went right into the very next episode with the second eviction. I'm based on the vote. Everybody saw, that it saw him as a huge target. I don't mean to jump ahead.
I agree, but she didn't put up Daniel, who is also a huge threat. She didn't put up other people who are athletic.
No, but she likes Daniel.
Yeah, they got.
But there's a reason that she made relationships with some people and she didn't make relationships with other people. Why is Laura an outsider, even though she's athletic?
The issue is with this iteration of Big Brother that we're not getting the live feeds that go with this to be able to deduce with absolute certainty what's going on. Because if we're like watching the US episodes, it's the same thing, right? It's like, unless we've been watching the feeds, like, okay, I know exactly what's up, so you're full of shit and you're noms. But here we just have to go based on what they say, and they're not giving us enough time with that, because it does feel like by the time we got to the nominations, there was like maybe a third of the episode left. So
what I want to say, and also like fully as a person who has not watched it completely in its entirety yet, but I do want to bring this up. It's just like one of the reasons I've been hesitant to watch specifically Australian reality television, and one of the very few reasons I ended up watching Love Island is because like Australian has a giant issue with systemic racism. Everywhere it does, Australians is ginormous, and they do not check it in the slightest. And for me, like coming in and just seeing who the first two boots were without having watched the episodes yet was what I expected to happen, and was extraordinarily disheartening. And I think, like, I don't know if this was a point that Suzi was going to make, but like the fact that Laura was sort of alienated from jump, and that she was targeted for being a big physical threat. It sounds like there was a few physical threats, but she was the one who was specifically targeted. You have to be conscious that like race is going to play in a factor, not in a vocal way, not in a way of like, hey, I'm coming after you because you're this. No, it's not a conscious thing, but it's certainly a barrier that the POC house guests are going to have to overcome that their white counterparts don't have to. And is it a different...
like, it's weird that she didn't have anybody on her side who was like, Laura might be a huge physical threat. I want to use that. I want to use Laura to go after people like Talia, like Daniel, that are big physical threats. We have people like Xavier who are physically fit. There are girls who haven't spoken, but I'm sure they're good at stuff. Like Sophie might be a secret threat. I don't know because of the editing. But the fact is, we didn't see Laura have an alliance, even though she was clearly physically threatening. And it's like you can't. So there was something going on in the house that we were not privy to.
What was the vote count?
It was
it was a blowout. It wasn't even clear. Kieran only got what?
Kieran got 2,
votes?
Zoe got 1,
2,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 3. So there was 12 in the house.
She got 6 or 7 votes.
Okay,
she got 6.
6-3-2. 6-3-2.
Okay, so
yeah,
and
I
one,
mean, like, and those people I think were also outsiders who didn't vote.
They didn't show who voted. Well, they showed a couple of votes. You're right, but they didn't reveal all the votes. We don't know who all voted which way.
I know. I hate that. To be honest, I hate it. I need to know. So I feel like
I think the chart is up. There is a chart that shows.
Okay, I'd love to see that chart. But I think the point is that, like, you know, she. I think that you said Kieran's easy to go up because nobody will be mad. I think the same thing with Laura. They were like, listen, Laura's not going to have any allies. We all know the way that these games go. So we can put her up, even though she's a huge, and without a veto ceremony, if there had been a veto, I don't think Laura would have gone that.
So question: do you think that Laura, if she thought this might be the case going in, if we want to go along those lines and say that may be part of what played into it, should Laura have not tried so hard to win, or do you think she thought I have to win because if I don't, I'm going?
Hold on. Like, this is sort of what I was bringing up during the stream of, like, as POC contestants, you have to be better. And, like, you have to, like, there's an expectancy that you need to think about that sort of stuff. Like, am I going to be seen as a target because I'm a physical threat? Do I need to restrain that because there's going to be more eyes on me? So you don't get to come in and just have, like, a clean slate and play like everybody else does.
Yeah. Well, Sharifa, I was not of the
no, that was not at you, Mike, too.
Okay, I'm just saying let's go with that is the assumption. Is that the way she should have played it? I understand.
I think that, like, so if this had been a BBUS game, what she would have done is gone up to the HOH room and been like, oh my God, I'm so glad you won it, because even though I didn't win it, I think us physical people really need to stay together, blah, blah, blah. She didn't have a chance to do that. So that's what she should have done, I think, during the day, because they only have like a day between nomination. Like, everything happens in one day. So that's what she should have done during the day. I don't think it would have worked. I don't know if she did that. I don't know if her personality didn't seem like that's the kind of thing she did. And also, a lot of people were talking Kieran, so she might have thought she was safer than she was.
Yeah.
But she knew she. Go ahead. Sorry, Louie.
I was gonna say, I think one of the problems is that basically in both of these votes, we went into it thinking it was Kieran, right? Yeah. Like, they didn't show any editing otherwise as to here's why it's Laura, here's why it's Alan, or people.
I was surprised when Alan was eliminated. Like, I thought he might be in little danger, but the edit made it seem like it was Kieran all the way.
They showed a little bit for the second vote. They did show, of course, Kieran trying to mend his bad spot. But what they also showed was Garth really working for just a little bit. I think Garth had a lot more to do with that second vote than Kieran did.
Yeah, I think we didn't see enough of Garth, because the way they showed it with Garth made it seem like Garth was failing. Yeah. You know what I mean? They were like, it made it seem like people were brushing Garth off, but clearly he had an effect. Yeah. So I hope that we get some, like, what you didn't see kind of footage in the next episode to explain that, but I'm not confident we will.
They don't have time.
I'm not either. No.
They don't have time. They got to bring 4 more people, and they're going to lift them over.
We need live feeds
with a crane.
Yeah. I really do.
We got to do this with Survivor. But yeah, so I think that nobody was going to stand up for Laura, so she was easy to put up there. There's no veto, so she's not going to win her way off. And as long as they all agree to vote her off, then no repercussions. And Kieran keeps going, it's inevitable, and that's why they're keeping him.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue, and I knew, especially after, like, the Laura one was bad enough, but then after Alan went, I was like, all right, this is an issue. But, like, the one thing I will credit this season of Big Brother Australia with, which we haven't seen in the past, is it seems that they are trying to have a diverse cast, right? We're talking about a country or continent that is largely white, like the large majority. And it does seem they are trying to have somewhat of a cross section, especially with age, which I like to see.
I do love the age.
We don't see really in many competitions. Like they are trying to accurately have a diverse group. Like, you know, even in like the next four, like you have an older Asian man, which is something you don't typically see on reality shows, like an older married Asian dad, like, which I think is great to see. So they're trying to have diversity there, but you know, if all the people of color
it's
are
hard
voted
because
out immediately.
People of color are just going to be set up to not be able to succeed in a social game because they don't come in with social equity, right? So they kind of like, and the same thing with, I just feel like we'll see how the game continues. I also felt like from the video package, we knew Laura was going. She said, I'm a feminist and I'm pro-Black. And we were like, well, she's done. You know what I mean? Like they set her up to seem as though she was abrasive or something. You know, the only clips we saw of her interacting was when she and Marissa got into it, kind of. So I was just like, okay, we get it. She rubbed people the wrong way. Like the way they set it up was just kind of expected. It was what we expected.
And I don't mean that we're going to get into all the intricacies of this in a future Podquester special. And I don't mean to like dive into it now, but it's like, I feel like if we don't talk about it, who does? Yeah. And these things happen every season, every episode. Mm-hmm. I mean, all the stuff that happened in BBUS with Kimmy, that same stuff happened to Dominique, and no one really talked about that. And so, like, I want to normalize the conversation of like, hey, you know, it's sort of like what Mike said. It wasn't, you said like, oh, I didn't see that. And it's like, no. And that's the thing is you don't have to see it. And I want to create an environment and a dialogue that has people starting to see this who don't have to experience it. Because, you know, as a marginalized person who loves Survivor, who loves Big Brother, you get to the point where you stop wanting to watch because you're so tired of seeing the only few people like you be completely alienated and targeted immediately.
It's traumatizing. It's really traumatizing. It's really traumatizing to see the way some of these people like are treated. Like I still haven't watched BB15. I can't deal with it. I can't. And I Justice Tsushima, and I can't watch that season again either because of the way she was treated. And I also don't want to be a commentary that doesn't approach it because I not only stopped watching the show, but sometimes I would watch the commentary to be caught up. And then I also stopped watching some people's commentary because I was like, why are we pretending it's just not happening? And that was traumatizing too, to be completely ignored and hurt like that. And like Sharifa said, we are going to have a special podcaster, so we're not going to go on and on about it. But I think that part of the reason that Sharifa and I were interested in coming on board is because we feel like these are opinions that aren't always seen or spoken about, and we definitely want to make sure that we're not going to ignore what's right in front of our face or act like it's not part of the game, because it's part of the strategy. It's part of the game that people have to deal with.
On the good side, Angela should be around for quite a while.
Yes.
We're hoping.
Yes.
We are hoping. Thank you for giving us a space to be able to talk about that conversation, to have that conversation. We really do appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's important to talk about. Like, you know, there's a lot, and you know, we don't have to go into it much further, but just in like, you know, past seasons, especially when the public voted, I feel like it was even more of an issue.
Oh
like
my God.
We would see people of color going home. Basically, in the UK, especially first, every single time. Every single season, a person of color went home first. That I felt like it was even more of an issue. You know, hopefully here, you know, it doesn't, you know, we see that trend not continue, because I do think Angela's in it for the long haul, but it's obviously not a good start when it's the first two.
Has a person of color ever won BBUK, just for my own knowledge?
Yes. So I know one person of color has won Big Brother Australia. That was season 4, Trevor. He won. And then I believe 2 people, well, so Nadia won season 5 of the UK and was from somewhere South American and was a trans woman. So that was a huge thing. And that was a long time ago.
Let me look up this season.
And that was like 2002, 2003.
This is about to be a watch-along, Sharifa.
Very, very early.
Her name was Nadia?
Nadia, yeah.
I love that name.
Yeah, and then there were a few more people of color who won along the way, but very, very few, considering there were like 25 seasons. We're talking like 3 or 4. Yep, Brian Bello, season 8. And a couple celebrities.
Same
as well.
thing. I think Tiffany Pollard won everyone's heartbeat.
The fact that she got 4th, the greatest robbery that has ever taken place.
But she's an icon.
A legend.
Okay, so sorry. So yeah, those people are all nominated, and we see Kieran, and then we just see a bunch of shots of Kieran making. Yes, absolutely. Women will definitely be a part of that conversation. But Kieran making a bunch of faces that you can't see me doing right now, but they're okay. There we go. They're like just like a like a montage of his face and him being like, "Hey, can I talk to you real fast? I just want chat." And apparently that rubs people the wrong way. How did y'all feel that Kieran was campaigning?
I mean, he was trying to fight for his life. I just feel like people thought it was inappropriate, right? Nothing he did stood out to me as like, oh, I can't believe he's
no. On like, I feel like on a normal BBUS season, it would be like totally par for the course, and it just felt like out of place here for some reason. Unfortunately, like.
So I'll just say that for what it's worth, I'm watching this entire season going like, I'm being manipulated. I'm being completely manipulated by the editors. So how do I feel about it? I feel that's how they wanted me to feel about it. I feel they wanted me to feel like it was awkward. That's how they want me to. What I just don't know. I just can't watch. I'm going to watch this show, and I'm happy. I'm a huge fan of the old Big Brother. I'm a huge fan of the public vote. I'm a huge fan of the social, the feelies, the feels, the way you get to meet people and get more invested in them, and the less actual gameplay.
And 100 episodes.
Yeah, and 100 episodes. I mean, there's 98 episodes of Big Brother 9. And you really get deep into these people's lives. And so for me, watching it, the editing, I just go like, okay, they're manipulating me, but I like it. I'm liking this Big Brother, as I said, because of the humor, because of the way they put the spin on things. I like the fact that they're a little bit more no nonsense with the house guests. You know, whose house is it? My house. I want some tea. You'll get some tea when we want to give you some tea, not when you demand tea, kind of a thing. That's So I enjoy it for that. So as far as Kieran's facial expressions, I just feel like it's a manipulation by the editors, which is fine. That's what they're doing. They're putting on a show.
Yeah. How does to kind of go off topic a little bit, how does the style of this house compare to other seasons of Big Brother Australia? Because it's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. The Big Brother Australia house, the last 3 seasons was a beautiful house, huge outdoor space in the middle, several buildings around it that you would go into. Oh, the Big Brother Australia houses have always been every Big Brother UK house.
I think of like, cool. Big Brother US houses are typically like campy in a way, like around different themes. And then you have like BB Can, which are very like, I feel like very vibrant and colorful, or at least based off of my one season that I watched, BB Can 8. But this was just so interesting to see such a stark difference from those two styles of houses, with just like, it looked like something that you might see out of like some kind of home and garden magazine or something. It was just beautiful.
Stunning. I mean, listen, like BBUS was shaking, BB Can was crying. That house for BB Australia is gorgeous. I could not believe it. And the design of it, that was so impressive for me. And just as like a BB fan, I really appreciate that they put in the effort to make it as cool as it was, to design it the way that they did. Because sometimes, like, as a BBUS fan, you just see them put sand in the bathroom and you're like, really, sis? Is that all we're getting?
Y'all remember that show where they would like make over your house in one day? I can't remember what it was called.
Extreme Makeover?
No, While You Were Out. It was called While You Were Out, but it was basically like this extreme makeover, but they would make over your house one day. Yep. It always felt like that. Like BBUS, they like had an idea and then they do stuff like staple hay to your wall or some shit. And you're just like, I have to live here, assholes. You know? But this was beautiful. They had that wall of hubs, as Ian put it. And I thought that it was like the outdoor space seemed cool. The pool. Oh, I like it.
The diary room chair.
Oh my God. I love that chair.
Okay, here's a little, I don't know if for those of you that follow me on Twitter, they came out with, when Zoom came out and all the Zoom backgrounds, and people were like, why don't we have some Big Brother Zoom backgrounds? And they did a few or something. So I went and grabbed 4 different Zoom backgrounds. I said, here's some Zoom backgrounds. I went and edited Big Brother had household rooms. And so I did one UK, one Australia, one Canada, and the USA one. And I posted all 4 of them. And one of the producers of Big Brother US, Heath, who produces a lot of the competitions, he actually commented, says, one of these things does not look like the other. It's like, oh yeah, it's so boring. The US is so boring. I'll find that tweet and retweet it just so you guys can see and appreciate it.
I miss the HOH stuff though. I miss them having the longevity of power. Nice, TR. Because I miss the campaigning, the relationships that it forms. And I also miss, getting to see their families and stuff like that. I think that those are like good reasons for people to want to be, HOH, like people who's like, I just want a letter from my family or whatever. Well, that doesn't make sense because they're American. I just want a letter for my family. Sounds worse without the accent. And stuff like that to win. And now if you win, it's only because you think you're in danger or you want to target somebody. So if you're in neither of those, if somebody's like, I promise you safety, you don't really have a reason to stay on. So I think that it kind of cuts out a lot of campaigning, but it also makes it a little more interesting. Still, I miss the family stuff and things like that. That gives us a little more personality.
Yeah. Like one of the things,
there's a lot of the strategy of it. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead, Louie.
I was just saying, I just like how, Australia, even though this is an edited version and it's still more edited than I would like, I still feel like it's not as overproduced as it is here in the US. Like it's not shoving loud diary rooms and loud music and loud sound effects down your throat at every single second and having to over explain everything that's going on through manipulated diary rooms. Like I have serious problems, and I have for a long time, with the US version, like since post All Stars, honestly, is just that I don't get into it as much anymore. Like I like the feeds, I watch the feeds, but like watching an episode for me, like I try to introduce people to Big Brother, and like I'm embarrassed to watch it a lot of the times. I'm like, there's really no reason to watch this show because it's so, it's garbage. I still love it. I love the game. I love the feeds. I love every aspect of it. But the show in itself, the way it's put out there, it's terrible. And, it's nice to see. Before there weren't really any other options because Australia and UK was done. But it's nice to see Australia, even though it's not exactly where I would want it to be, I still find it miles better than anything CBS puts out in terms of Big Brother.
I will say, I think they're a lot more open with their manipulation in an interesting way. Like Talia's in there and she's like, I don't think Daniel likes me. I think he hates me. And they're like, go ask him. Clear your head. Get into a showman's, basically. You know what I mean? They're like basically telling her to go into a showman's. And she's like, what, Big Brother?
I'll do that.
Yeah. And so then the manipulation is so obvious, but they're honest about it, right? They're like, oh yeah, mate, it was me. It was me, Big Brother. I done did that. Yeah. I put those two together. Those crazy kids.
I like that. I prefer this over what Louis is like. The whole scripted DRs are probably the most frustrating thing to see especially when they have their favorite who is who's giving into it and answering them and doing what they want, and it's just not funny. So I don't like that part. It is true. Like, I think if not for the feeds, it does make the actual product itself hard to watch. And this is coming from someone who started watching Big Brother without feeds, not really having a knowledge of this side of the coin, and then was into it enough to like find this world of feeds and commentary and all that. So that being said, there's just something so raw about the Big Brother product that comes from anywhere but North America, because of the fact that Big Brother is kind of like a person that responds to you, that talks back to you. It does add a back and forth that is just genuine, and I do enjoy. Like, I liked Kieran being all like, oh, so then if I do all my tasks, will you give us the beds? Will I give the beds, or will you give the? And they're like, just go do your tasks and we'll tell you that's what's going to go on. Or when Angela's, having the back and forth, and Big Brother's like, Angela, before you go, it's my house. It's like, I like that stuff. I enjoy that. And I like that we get their reactions to it ultimately.
Yeah.
I'll fully admit that, like, I am a North American style BB purist. The only time I will watch BB UK is if there's like a really big character on it. Watched it when it was Tiffany Pollard. For me, it's another one of those things where it sort of straddles. And I agree. I hate the over-rehearsed diary rooms and the edits that BBUS does, and it's why I usually just pay attention to the live feeds, because I like being able to make my own opinion from being able to get as much information as possible. But what I sort of wish Big Brother diary rooms were more like, were like Survivor confessionals, like where it's not really coached. It's sort of like a stream of consciousness. They're just talking, and they're not trying to like produce a certain story from it. Like even with the Angelicious tea moment, or the This Is My House, like those were all cultivated moments that they were trying to produce, and they were enjoyable, but like at the end of the day, I just really want to hear what's in their head and what they're thinking, and I could really care less about these like little storylines. Then again, I was laughing my ass off, so I'm probably wrong.
When Angela drops the glass when they first call her to the DR, that was amazing.
Man, that was really
she like
good.
throws it in the air and screams.
I mean,
the girl is like literal camp.
Oh my God.
She's reality TV gold. That is great. Gold. Great casting.
I was a bit distracted. Did you just talked about that when the next four entered the house, the whole segment, that was just awesomely perfect. Yeah. The way they all came in, and that was timing. They walked into the room. Yes. The last person walked in just as Alan walked out.
So just to recap, Sharifa, I would imagine you missed all of this. You have no idea what we're talking about at this moment.
Explain.
Yeah.
The four new house guests that were brought in, their mission, they were brought in the dead of night. Already like after the first elimination. So it was the top of episode 2. After Laura's eliminated, she's gone. Start of episode 2, we have 4 new house guests come in the dead of night. Their mission is they have to go the whole night without any other house guests realizing that they have entered the house. They have to go until morning.
They said they have to find a bed. They have to find a bed to sleep in, and that's all they're told.
Yes, and then and then they didn't tell them what the reward was, right? Did they tell them?
Yeah, no, they did. They said if you are found out, they get a. That's where we get the whole Sunday.
The big Sunday roast. You'll get a big Sunday dinner with everyone. Right. And so it was just such a fun segment to see them all come in. They had to they had a minute or so to quickly take a few things out of their bag and leave their bags in the hallway, and then they had to enter the house. And they didn't realize that all the beds were already taken in the one main bedroom. So there's this a scene of one of them feeling all the beds in the dark and accidentally touching everyone's feet, and then realizing all the beds are already taken, and so they have to sneak out and find the other empty bedroom. It was so fun.
Or I didn't realize there was a second bedroom.
There was probably not. That door was shut the whole time.
Yeah.
And so they didn't.
They must have unlocked it then when they entered.
They opened it for them when they entered. But there's even a more interesting scene, something you will never see on the U.S. on the U.S. version, or probably the Canadian version. One of the guys, Garth, had to use the restroom in the early hours of the morning, and it's a communal restroom. And he goes in and he goes into one booth, and you can hear him start to urinate. And while he's doing it, suddenly one of the original house guests walks out of the other side in a they don't see each other, but she could hear him, and he shut off. He stopped, and then the woman walks out, and then he starts again.
Yeah.
And you hear it all, and I'm like, "Well, this is what you never see." And we're so can't handle this stuff. You'll never see this. And matter of fact, urination plays a part in a later part of the same episode.
That's very true. Yes, now that I'm thinking about it, it was a big bathroom heavy episode because you had that talk with Angela episode. Too, talking about crying and pooping and how there's such good releases.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pooping is a good release. That's right.
Yeah. Yes, that happens. It was also really funny though, because I didn't realize about the second bedroom. So when she told them that when Big Brother told them that they had to find a bed and sleep in it, I was like, do they have to try to find a bed and sleep with somebody else?
See, I thought there would actually have been one vacant bed.
Right.
Oh, way to go! There you go, TR. You've got it. I sent TR the link, so now, but you got.
So I go to the backyard and I see these big blocks of ice.
By the way,
you're flipping kidding me.
I could not find a picture of just they had a household room for Big Brother, so I actually had to Photoshop that in and take somebody. I don't remember who I had to take out of the picture, but I actually went and Photoshopped somebody out of that particular picture.
Oh, this one? Oh, yeah, I think I can kind of see it a little bit.
Yeah, you can see it's smudged a little bit. I'm not a perfect Photoshop.
It's a ghost.
But oh crap! We're talking about the house guests finding the bedroom.
Oh yeah.
I thought there was one bed would have been vacant. The one bed would have been vacant because Laura's bed would have been vacant. But I thought, are they going to all four have to climb into that, or what's going to go on?
Yeah, I didn't realize with the second bedroom. I was like, oh, so is it going to be like how a lot of the BBUS seasons are, where they have to share beds, but they have to navigate how to, be discreet about it tonight only? Like,
those are some small ass beds to have to share.
They did.
That's where I was like, that's going to be interesting.
But you know what? I think now that I think about it, at least I think Laura and someone else were sharing a bed that first night, because I remember seeing them laying side by side in just a shot that panned. So there may not have been enough beds for each person. But yeah.
Hey, Louie, your dog is here.
Oh yeah, hi Corky. Hello.
He's so excited. So that happens, and then they finally discover them, and there are mixed reactions. Some people are very excited to have new people, and some people are less excited.
Very territorial. We have a whole segment with Garth, one of the new ones to enter, remarking on Talia being like a lioness, being territorial with the starting house guests.
Yeah. I wanted to mention that and how ridiculous it is. So, I mean, not to harp too much on like the history of Big Brother Australia, but typically people come in midway through the season. So we're talking 100 days. People come in at day 50. They've gone as far as to bring people in like 3 weeks before it ends on like day 75. Yep. I don't want to hear people saying on day 4, I can't believe you're bringing in more house guests to my house. Like, do you know nothing about the history of the show? Like, it's day 4. You literally just got there. But I also do feel like if you're going to have people come in, have them come in day 1. Like, if you're like, why are you spreading it out by 3 days? Like,
I don't like that twist. But I liked how enthusiastic Alan was about people. He was like, this is a game changer. And yes, I've decided that the British accent is where we're going with it.
Okay. Well, they came from originally, so
this is a game changer.
It's a game changer.
Suzi, in a couple hundred years, you'll have it down. You just gotta mature that English accent to get it to Australia.
Keep chugging at it. Anyway, so he's like, he thinks that this is gonna completely like go his way because he can manipulate them and bring them over to his side. So he's excited. Daniel is big mad. He just sits there. We have a lot of shots of Daniel glaring.
He's also big, tall, that I really noticed in episode 2.
Because we just had our winner the other night, who in his intro on Sequester, who was that on his intro video?
Ryan.
Austin.
Yeah, Ryan.
Ryan.
He was like awesome. Most white cis men, I think that this is a personality trait to be tall. And then Daniel was like, I'm known for being very tall and also playing footy. And I was like, Ryan predicted this. caused this. But yeah, so just a lot of shots of Daniel being angry and Talia wearing a very cute bathing suit that got a lot of attention. I think that's where we saw the heel turn for Talia.
You're
right?
a hot. You're looking like a hot tamale. I think someone said.
So
they called her Baywatch, I think, too.
Yeah.
So in Talia's defense, Lisa, you just put up the comment where Talia said, "After all we've been through, having just done a couple of sequesters." And it's been actually right at a month and a day since I did my first sequester with 20 other people. It is amazing how even 4 hours with those people who I was working against, I really like that group of people. These people have lived in the house together and gone through a lot of stress together for 3 solid days. There is nothing like throwing people in isolation together in a big group to pull you together as a team building thing. And so I understand, Lisa, that you're saying, yeah, it's a bit much, but in their mind, they've been through a lot together, and now you're throwing in unknowns that could break up what they've developed and all that, and mess up their friendships. So
back to sequester, you have people in a sequester mini who will act like this after like 3 or 4 rounds. They'll be like, after all we've been through these first 3 rounds.
Well, I was working with you
for the last 2 hours. What does that mean? Nothing to you?
You said
after we survived that wheel together.
You said you felt good about that room.
That's a good one.
Starting
room.
Loyal to the soil or not?
Come on.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. When she said that, as a viewer, not thinking as a player, I was like, "Girl, you got to stop."
And
it
that's
was
probably
like
why they showed it. They probably showed
it
to give her that bad, to make her look like, oh wow.
Yeah, I think Talia and Daniel are being set up as the villains, as like the power couple that are going to go far, that we're going to be rooting against. That's my Daniel. I feel like, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about him. I mean, he's a generic white guy, but tall generic white guy. I do
snores a lot. Don't forget that.
Snores. Has a nose. He can smoke in the rain.
Segment,
he can smoke in the rain.
Big Brother telling him to turn sideways so he can look at his nose.
Now, could you see that happening in the U.S. version?
No. I was watching that and I was like, ooh, boy.
Yeah. So.
Anyway, it's somewhat interesting that, like, for a casting type of a failed player, right? Like, you see a lot of times, like, big sports stars going on reality shows. They're like, oh, I can't believe whatever, Ricky Williams is here, whatever. But, like, to have someone who's failed, I would like to see that. It's like, bring in, like, Kwame Brown or, like, Ryan Leaf for, like, failed sports stars that, like, completely busted. And now you're on Survivor, right? Like, like, I'd rather see that in someone who has a story of, like, this didn't work out, this is my chance of redemption, than, like, someone who's a star and has millions of dollars.
I think it's interesting, though, because, like, even failed, like, sports stars still have a lot of money. I mean... so on
I would not
versus
for what it's worth, I don't think Daniel's rolling in the dough or anything.
No, he's a lot less I don't understand sports, B, I don't understand Australian sports for sure. And C, I think AFL might be its own monster alone. But I feel like, we saw Champs versus Star where CT got into it with some football player and was like talking about how broke he was and stuff. So I think that's the closest we've seen to, and then Lolo Jones was like, was talked a lot about how she needed to win and like her ratio was not good and she doesn't make a lot of money and stuff like that. So I think we've seen some ideas of that, but I don't think we've ever had anyone come out and be like, I'm here for a redemption because I suck that openly before.
Yep.
And so far he's starting to suck in this house a little bit. I don't know.
He's done nothing.
His snoring was a whole moment, though.
Yeah.
Hey, he came this close to winning that second immunity or the domination.
Yeah, that's right. So let's talk about it. So for the comp, I was telling Mallory when I was muted a second ago because she hadn't seen the episode. They put out these huge blocks of ice in the backyard, and lodged in the very center of the blocks of ice was like a rolled up flag of different colors. And they had an undisclosed amount of time. I don't think that there was a time limit. It was just
No.
whoever got it first.
Right.
And they could only use their bodies or what was on their bodies, like their clothes or whatever, to melt the ice and get the flag out. And the first one to get the flag and wave it around was the winner. And so you had some people that were like trying to like kick the ice and chip away. Kieran was doing that. You had,
but you couldn't tip it over. It had the ice
Correct.
had to stay up.
Stay
so you couldn't
upright.
kick it
and
and
if
knock it
your
over and
flag
break
broke, you were also out.
Right.
And then you had like Garth taking off like his clothes and then like hugging it and like swaddling it. So what was the thing? I missed this. I was kind of watching it while I was doing some podcaster stuff. What was the thing with Alan getting tea? Why did he get tea?
Big Brother just called, said, "Would we need a house
First
guest to
person.
come to the thing?" And several of them jumped, probably thinking it was some kind of an advantage. And Alan said, "Well, he was closest to the door, so he jumped up and dashed in, and was presented with
a cup of tea, which he was very excited about, and then got to like rub in Angela's face a little bit in the backyard."
And that was very reminiscent.
She wanted to go in really badly.
By the way,
She literally was like,
so just a little bit of a throwback. This is reminiscent of Big Brother Australia 10 with a couple of people, Tim and what's her name?
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yes. She's a fan, I guess, of Big Brother. Anyways, she had a big thing about her blow dryer and stuff and wanting her blow dryer. And Tim was given the opportunity to give it back to her, and he kind of didn't. So it was kind of reminiscent of that, where Paul was given this cup of tea, and then instead of just drinking it in the diary room,
Alan, you keep calling Alan Paul.
I know. I still figured out why I'm doing that. He walked out with the cup of tea, and said, "Oh, I got tea," and poor Angela is just freaking out. Yeah, Tahan. Yeah, we got Talia now too. That's what's throwing that one.
But I think that like they really set it up well, because Marissa was already in the house and was like, "I'll go," and Angela was outside. So of the three people who volunteered, she was furthest.
Yeah.
But she threw herself. She was like, "Let me in." She desperately wanted whatever they were.
Whatever it
get.
was, yeah.
And then it turned out to be tea, and I think that crushed her emotionally. And honestly, I don't think Alan recovered from it either. Clearly,
look at that voting table. Yes, I don't.
Yeah.
Think,
let me pull it back up.
I don't think
and
she
then
got.
You had some of the women putting on heels and trying to use that as like a way to chip into the ice. But
Garth was using like a towel, and he would get it wet from the ice
soaking
and
it
then
up from
put
the
the
ice
water back on.
Yeah,
So
and
that
then
was smart.
another notable. This is where we see another, the
bodily
bathroom
function
content, the bodily function come back in. I think Daniel brought it up as a joke, or was brought up as a joke, and then Big Brother dared Daniel to try and urinate on the ice to melt it, and then Daniel was like, "All right, I'll go for it," and he was trying to do it and got performance anxiety and could not do it, and everyone was like looking at him and was like, "Well, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it?" And he's like, I'm trying. And then could not do it. I just stopped.
So I kept wondering, would they have shown any liquid, or would it have just been a implied that he was doing?
So that was funny that you say that.
Audio.
That's funny you say that, because we had the kind of almost me, myself, and Irene type cutaway, where it was like him getting ready to urinate, and it cuts to Garth like dripping water on the ice, and so it kind of looks like he was urinating.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen many a player wet themselves in an HOH competition in the US and BB Cam versions. So
we have, but has it been shown?
No,
not like what we see. I just remember.
There's a
I don't know. I
feed
never
version.
watched the competition. I remember when Russell peed in BB11. There was this was back when I used to read Online Big Brother, and there was this disgusting photo of Russell sitting in the swing with just like dripping down. I will never get that out of my head, but I don't know if it was shown. I will.
No. That's not shown. You go all the way back to Big Brother 4. They were in a cage.
I know Pooya has to head out. Is that right, Pooya?
Yeah.
Pooya, do you have any final thoughts on these first two episodes of Big Brother? I know you probably won't be able to join us next week. This might be the only time we have you. So, any thoughts for the season so far, or anything else?
It was a positive experience. Out of the Big Brother, the English-speaking Big Brother shows, AU's the only one I've never dipped my toe in. I've watched some UK. I've followed US and Canada very closely, obviously. This was a fun treat for me. I like that it's a combination of, you know, the two worlds, the public side of things, the edited side of things, and then a strategic side. We'll see which side wins at the end. Obviously, you know, your boy would like it to be the strategic side of things, but we'll see where it goes. Thank you guys for having me. I just, you know, I just want to put out, like, I played Sequester with 3 of you. I went back and looked at some of the stuff one of you reacted to while I was playing, and I have not been in conversation with one of you, but I've watched you watch other people play, and I've watched you play, and I look forward to you being Mike the Third at some point. Similar to how Shrek did it.
Wait, Pooya, what are you referring to? We can't keep talking about this.
He's talking about watching TR.
Yeah, I'm thanking all of. So I'm thanking 3 of you for playing with you. I'm thanking TR.
Exactly was like, are you talking about me?
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
I was trying to remember what I said about Pooya.
I was like, I hope I didn't say anything bad about Pooya in the commentary. I don't know.
I just remember when I left the room, you were like, you can be my Liana, which I wasn't even trying to like make that. All right, listen, we've all seen BB7 with Daniel Reyes. I wasn't even trying.
You came into the room and you were like, I can be your Liana. I was like, let's go, Sharifa. And then you left, and I was like,
I thought you said it. You were the one.
Rewind the tapes. You suggested it first.
He said, roll tape.
Neither of us meant it. It all worked.
No, that was the best part. Was that I knew you, like, we were not being honest with you.
My favorite part of pre-gaming with Pooya is when he told me that Dash had called him King more time in the 3 messages that he'd had with Dash than Liana had in their entire relationship.
I haven't gotten
like,
a King
that's a lot of
years.
information from Dash, and that's a lot of information about your relationship, Pooya.
Oh man, if I never hear the word pregame, I'll be happy. Like, yeah, that was a whole experience. But no, honestly, thank you for having me on. This was fun. I don't know how far I'm going to be watching, because obviously if Big Brother US starts coming back into the fold, like, you know, my attention's going to go elsewhere.
Oh,
but
of course.
Then I'm here to try and watch as many of them as I can. The thing with Australian shows, like Australian Survivor, and what I'm noticing with this, these episodes are long af. Like, an hour and a half per episode is a lot. I ended up watching on double speed to be sure to get ready for tonight, and that worked out semi well. But I'm appreciative for all the depth we go through with the character moments. I'm hoping we get more of that, even though there's the strategic element in it as well. So we'll see.
I don't think we're going to see US Big Brother until August, personally.
August? Yeah, there's a good chance.
This will be done mid-July. It's 3 shows, 20 episodes. We're done. I just looked at the calendar, like middle 3rd week of July, we should be
about
done
a month away, almost.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 6 weeks.
Thank you so much for joining us, Pooya.
Yeah.
We really
Thank you. I might see you
Yeah.
on another one of these somewhere along the line. But until then, everyone take care. L-Dog, love your new nickname. Adios.
L-Dog for now on.
Bye.
See you, Pooya. And then I know, Sharifa, you said you had to head out as well. Is that right?
Yes, I do. And I don't have to make a big speech because I'll see y'all real soon. Yeah, but this
Text me your reactions to watching episode 2, because I want, or just do it on the group chat, because I know we all are eager to hear the.
I'll live tweet.
Do you want to plug right now? I know you are going to be. We're going to see the next time we'll see you. Will actually not be on this channel. It'll be on Kirsten's stream. Is that right?
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
Suzi, if you can plug that for both of us.
Yeah, so Kirsten is doing the commentary on Thursday night for the prom mini. We all know that when Kirsten does commentary, it gets a little salty, and so we are very excited that they'll be featuring Sharifa and I, which will be a good balance because she can talk shit about Brent, and Sharifa and I can talk shit about everybody else. So it'll be a good balance, and I'm sure she'll have some more people featured as well. So. We're excited that Kirsten's allowed us to be a part of that.
Well, awesome. So look for that. That's the next time you'll see these 2 lovely ladies right here back together again, providing you some context, some opinions, some hot takes on the game of Sequester, of course.
I don't know what you're talking about. I never have an opinion, TR.
No, not at all.
Wishy-washy.
I appreciate you, Sharifa, spending almost 2 hours with us talking about episodes you barely finished watching. So,
and yet I still found a way to say things.
You brought a lot. You brought a lot.
Also, to go off of what we talked about today, we are going to be announcing a date soon for that conversation that we want to have in terms of bigotry in regards to reality television shows. So please look out for that. Follow the Podquester Twitter. We'll announce it via there. I'm making the assumption, TR, I'm taking over your job, but you let me know. But yeah, make sure you follow that Twitter and we'll announce the date then. And please come by and watch it because there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of things.
So we're looking at either the Monday the 22nd or Wednesday the 24th. It'll be one of those two. We still have to lock down with our panel. But Sharifa and Suzi will be leading a panel with 4 other great guests discussing that. And we will be, like Sharifa said, tweeting that information out as soon as possible on the Podquester Mini Twitter down below. So be sure to follow that. But before you follow that, follow Sharifa.
Please do that too. All right. Bye, everyone. I'll see y'all later.
Bye, Sharifa. Have a good night. All right. So as far as episode 2 goes, the competition, the ice block competition, Garth won that bad boy. Garth was then tasked. He had to immediately go to the DR and name his 3 nominees. What were our thoughts on the nomination process and who ended up being nominated?
It's very lucky he won, because I feel like if anybody from the original group
let's
it would have been very obvious who was going.
Just to reiterate, Garth pulled his flag out, and then again, as far as the editing made it seem like Daniel was hot on his tail, literally had it out mere moments after. So it was very, very close.
They had people crowded around both of them. And I don't think they would have been crowded around Daniel if he didn't at least have a shot.
So. Well, they were more crowded around Daniel.
Right.
There seemed to be a lot more people that thought Daniel was going to pull this off.
Or that wanted or that he was the original house guest and Garth was the newcomer. Yes, they wanted him because they felt safer with him.
We can go back a little bit to that conversation where Daniel and Talia not only were giving bad looks to these people and being described as lionesses, but they were having like conversations in the corner about how they didn't like these people, how these were new people, how dare they, not just in the DR, but together, about how they didn't trust these people. Meanwhile, the guests were ingratiating themselves a little bit. Ian taught somebody how to play the spoons. I don't know if that was Casey or Sophie.
It was Sophie.
It was definitely one of them.
Yes. So he taught Sophie how to play the spoons. Yes. And then we also saw Alan in his subtle gameplay try to be like, don't worry, Garth, I'll tell you what's up. We hate Kieran. Which, I mean, like, even if that is your gameplay, why put the target on Kieran, who's already the biggest target in the house? Put your target somewhere else. Like,
Alan, not subtle.
Alan, 10 steps ahead, looked very much like last week's steps. You know what I mean? Like,
he had that sequence in the DR where he was like, you think I'm 1 step ahead. Already 10 steps ahead.
Yeah, but in reality, he was just like 30 steps behind. Yeah. So Garth immediately, so he's the last person that Garth nominates, but we knew where he was going with that. He was pretty clear that that was going to be his target.
Mm-hmm.
So the nominees for that were Kieran, Alan, and Angela. Those were the 3 we're going with, and like I said, and I may be a little wrong because I was not paying full attention. I was doing some other stuff while I was watching it, but my impression, like I said, was that it seemed that Kieran was going. It seemed like the edit was heavily implying that Kieran was going to be the one. I mean, you had a lot of people leading up. I mean, there was the conversation before the vote where he went up to someone and said, like, hey, I'm not going to tell you how to vote. I'm just going to ask you, how are you voting? And they were like, I'm voting you. Sorry. And then, you had multiple instances of the actual voting ceremony, and several people in the DR talked about Kieran and being unsure about him, or,
I can't decide if it made it clear that Kieran was going to be the target or if it made it clear that Alan was going to be the target, because
I knew that Alan was in danger. I just was like, okay, he's in danger. He might be next boot, like, or he might like really have to like play recovery.
I feel like it was implied, but never like just based upon who we are and the fact that we know reality TV editing. We were like, oh, this doesn't look good for Alan, but nothing was specifically said being like, okay, we're voting Alan out, right? So, nobody really, it was still seemed to be Kieran all along, but you just knew that was too obvious and it was going to be Alan. But let's face it, I mean, the vote was it was a complete blowout. Like it wasn't, he got one vote. So clearly everybody at some point got together and said, we're voting Alan out. It wasn't a coincidence and they all came to that decision on their own. So there was clearly a lot that wasn't shown in terms of how that vote actually went down. And they want to, it seems like both votes that they're wanting to try to trick us and be like, surprise, Kieran isn't going. But
if you go back and watch the lead up to the vote, all those diary room sessions that they were doing, they weren't naming names sometimes. Sometimes they were saying he's really not trustworthy, and he thinks he's in control, and he's not.
It showed them.
They would show Kieran after they said it, but I'm pretty sure
they could have been talking about Alan.
They were talking about Alan.
That makes sense.
They let us. They said, "Here, walk down this road." Stuff. This is what we're.
In my head, I was thinking it was one of those things where, like, maybe the DR Big Brother or something was like, "So, what are your thoughts on Lauren? What are your thoughts?" Or you know what I mean, like Kieran on Angela, and then so we're just getting all the sound bites that they said, weighing all the options, even if that's not necessarily where they were leaning.
We know you're going to vote for Kieran, but why would you vote for
entertain
Paul?
the thought. Exactly. Yeah.
And then you said, I hate that stuff, by the way.
Or Alan.
Where have I got Paul from?
I think you were in our DMs before. You were comparing him to Paul and that. Like,
I know. I did.
He's a mastermind, or
he just said.
I called Alan Paul in the DMs too, and I'm like, I don't know where it's coming from.
You were doing. I don't know where you're coming from.
No, he's clearly more of a Raven than a Paul.
Trust me, my one of my things that I'm well known for on my regular Big Brother podcast I do with Scott and Colette is screwing up house guest names. So I'm stuck with this for the rest of this season is I'm going to mess up their name. So I'm
so glad that Phil pointed this out in the chat. This was a language thing that was hard for me because I didn't like the word sneaky being applied to him. Sneaky is a really racially coded word for Asian people, but it's also hard because this is a game when people are called sneaky generally, right?
I've never. I'm white guy, had never known that there was some kind of
I have a minor in screen cultures and gender studies.
Okay.
So
is that across the country? Is that across the world? Is that an Asian thing? Is that an Australian thing too?
I wouldn't be surprised if it were also in Australia, because he said things like tiger mom that we also understand to be culturally in the United States that's connected to Asian culture. So something like sneaky is also considered like a racially coded word for Asian, but it's also a game where people are sneaky, no matter what your race is. And it's funny because I wouldn't call Alan sneaky. I'd call him ridiculously over the top bad at trying to be sneaky. I would say he would try
would a better word that's less charged but that's applicable to this game and to multiple players be snaky?
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. I wouldn't assume that. I don't like the fact that the word sneaky got brought up in connection with Alan, but I wouldn't assume that it was racially motivated just because this is a game where you call people sneaky. You know what I mean? It's Alan's not the only person who has been called sneaky, and he will not be the last person to be called sneaky. So it's like a catch-22. But it's one of those situations where you're a person of color, and you're like, and when somebody says something, or you're like, is that game related or is this race related? Which one do you hate me for? You know, and you're like, you can only hate me for game reasons. But Alan was terrible at this game.
How did we feel about the worst analogy of all time, perhaps? Where Daniel talked about how Kieran was the dead mouse you keep in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
And you occasionally go over and make sure it's okay. And
I didn't know if you were talking about that. Or Angela's pooping, crying.
I love things like that are just so hyper specific that people think are relatable. I don't know. That makes me think that has happened to Daniel. He's had a dying mouse in his house that he's left there.
That he checked on to make sure it was still dying.
But to me, I wonder if that's a cultural thing that Australians, they always talk about the dead mouse in the corner, and that's just a thing that they know, and it's very relatable, and
That's
we
true.
don't have any reference to that. And for them, it's like, oh yeah, the dead mouse is better than the dead mouse in the corner. It's like, what? It's like, oh yeah, back in the 1800s, there was all kinds of dead mice in every corner in Australia. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
And then he said the only thing that's worse than that is getting, I believe, like 50 swords in the front or something.
Stabbed. Yeah, I see.
Getting stabbed by swords in the front, which is worse. I imagine getting stabbed with swords as compared to the dead mouse, but
it's not Australian.
I've never.
Hey, Daniel, I'll take your word for it. I'm going to guess
it's just a Daniel thing.
Maybe it's a footy thing.
I just have to.
It's an AFL. All the AFL players have nice problems.
I just question sometimes when I see something that I don't quite get, and I go like, okay, well, this could make sense in their world, and that's why I don't understand it.
Like calling dinner tea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. So then Alan went and he was gobsmacked, and that was one of those nice moments in BB when people are absolutely shocked. And
he was a good sport about it, though. He was a very good sport about it. He like wasn't pissed off or anything. He just was like, he kind of seemed like, all right, like, game respect game in a way, almost like these people all lied to my face. Like I thought that I was like the best player, but maybe all these people are better than me if they were able to, blindside me that well.
Yeah. And I will miss like the fact that he was really open about his culture. He was like, I won't choose 4. It means death. I'm going to go with 8 because it's a lucky number.
Mm-hmm.
The luck did not sit with you tonight, son. So that's cute. You know what I mean? So, and I do think that he said that he was a pot stirrer. I think he was. And he did it badly, but I think that he did stir the pot by telling Garth to go after like Kieran and stuff like that.
I liked Alan. The reason I liked Alan, he was obviously a really bad game player, but I liked Alan for his spirit, like how he embraced everything about the show so fully. Like everything that happened, he was so happy about it whenever anyone came in, when he got in the house, like the whole experience.
He was like really a good house guest, like as far as TV goes. He gave me, as far as gameplay, as far as gameplay is concerned, and as far as like his arc on this season, he kind of gave me like BB10 Brian vibes a little bit, like just seemed like someone who probably could have been a very capable player and probably could have gone really far and done some good damage if they had not played so hard at the beginning in the way that they played. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if they had just like finessed it a little bit more and like, had more of like a slow ease into playing the way that they played, like I think that they could have definitely gone further and done damage.
Yeah, I think that, so between the two players, I liked Laura a lot, but I think the player I'd want to see come back for another season would be Alan, because I think he's really passionate about like gameplay. So I think that he'd be somebody who would probably watch back. He's probably going to go into the Reddit. He's going to want to know what he could do better to play again, and he would be enthusiastic.
I also wouldn't put it past him to bring somebody back at some point.
Boy,
that's a good point. That's a good point. We're getting, let's talk the preview for the next episode. So we're getting 4 new house guests in a steel cage, it seems, that are being crane lifted over the house in the backyard. Why?
Why are they doing that?
From a viewer perspective, it's I guess a cool spectacle, but it seems totally superfluous. It does not. It seems like an accident waiting to happen.
They've done big things in Australia. One season of Australia, they divided the house in 2 for like the first 2 weeks, and then they literally brought in cranes and took the house apart and dismantled it and to open it up into one big house. They do things big sometimes.
And in other, especially in the early seasons, like it was a big deal in the UK and Australia. Big Brother was huge. It's never been that big here. It's never been that close to that big here. But, it's, a cultural phenomenon like Survivor here in the early seasons. Big Brother was over there.
Well, Big Brother also allowed wagering, and had the obviously the public vote as well. So I'm as I said, I've enjoyed it. I'm still a fan of the original Australia because I don't care for the American format. I'm not a game player strategist like a lot of the people that in this community are. So I'm kind of the outlier that's which shows in my performance in the sequesters that I've played. So, but I do enjoy a little bit of the editing that the Australians are doing that I know we'll never see in the American version. So
yeah, it's a nice little variety, spice of life.
So to address this question, out of the 4 new housemates entering tomorrow, who are you most excited to see? Shane, Danny, Hannah, or Subong?
Team Subong. I was Team Subong when I saw the original cast. He's the one who stuck out to me most. I was surprised he was going in third day.
The only one who really even got screen time in the preview for the next episode. So like,
yeah, and he got screen time. And what did he get screen time? Like doing some amazing,
some very physical feats. Already going to be targeted for being a comp piece because he was doing some badass stuff where like
he has like an 8-pack.
He's grabbing like a giant like barbell or whatever, and he's like doing like a standing push-up and then rolling out seamlessly without stopping, like all the way down until he's in like a push-up position, back up to standing. It incredible. Yeah,
I didn't expect that when I originally saw Subong's guy. I thought, I didn't expect him to be some jacked older guy, but here we are.
So he's 48. Dude looks like he's 30. Yeah. And again, I, as an older woman, do not think 48 is that old. But more than that, dude looks 30. He is giving us really good looks. So, I mean, I want his skincare, and I also want him to go very far. I think that I really hope that these background women are kind of distinguishing themselves. Hannah looks a lot like Sophie.
Yeah, a lot of them are kind of blending together for me.
And
honestly.
I mean, like we have that problem in general where we have so many people that we're not getting enough time to see them. But it's really hard when they look similar to me and we see them in passing. I don't know who's sitting next to who. We saw some flirting between Chad and I don't know who. Casey or
Casey.
It was Casey? Okay, he called Casey a snack. And so that's the other showmance that could potentially occur. But I was just like, I wrote down Casey, and then later I was like, wait, which one's wait? And so I really want these characters to start defining themselves a little more. So I'm looking forward to that.
A few of them they focused on heavily in the pre-show, like on the trailers. Like Sophie, they focused on a lot. Like she's a former gymnast who was in like the Olympics or whatever, and she got hurt, and now she wants to use her competitive edge or whatever. They talked a lot about her. They talked a lot about Matt, who's been in the game, I think, since the beginning. I think he went in on day one, and they haven't shown anything from him. So yeah, they focused on some people who have been non-existent thus
the
far.
whole chat is saying that actually it was Sophie that he was flirting with.
Okay.
So
I can't tell
I'm just really glad that it's not just me.
Okay.
I was like, I'm really bad with faces, but this is TV. I should be able to tell them different. So I don't know.
You all are better than us. Seriously, I'm with Suzi on this. Like I tried to take notes for the first 2 episodes and like general notes and then like notes for specific players. And I'll be honest, I don't think I had notes for every single player. I think that there's at least probably 3 or 4 or 5 that I was like, hey.
Y'all said Xavier, and I was like, I think I watched the wrong show. I don't remember an Xavier.
I only remember because of the name. That's literally it.
Well, obviously, none of you remember Paul, so
yeah. Biggest flop of the Big Brother Australia so far.
Sarah, as we're talking about Daniel, Sarah is very short. So
she is
that's
a personality
right.
trait. Okay. A very and it seems to be her personality trait. Angela talked a lot about how she wanted to cradle Sarah.
Just like a baby.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Phil, how could you forget? Sarah is the person whose only characteristic was that one sequence comparing herself to Daniel and how small she was. Yes. Pretty much, as far as I can recall.
It reminded me of when Austin and James stood next to each other. You remember how short James was, and like it had a similar vibe, but even more. Sarah's way shorter than James, so it was cute. But like, okay, did she talk the whole show? I don't think so.
She said a couple of words.
I think she tripped over the step when they were going into.
And then in the morning she came out or something. There was a couple.
All of these she said were, "Oh, watch that step. Oh, I hit the step again." Those.
They'll get
every time.
Yeah,
they're going to get. they're going to get some airtime because sooner or later they're going to get voted out of the house, and that's
That's true.
I was going to say, looking at the people in the house now, in reality, only 6 of them have had any sort of screen time whatsoever.
Yep.
Angela, Daniel, Garth, Ian, Kieran, and Talia. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are the ones I care most about. So good job, production. You have worked your magic on me. I also want Ian to have a showmance.
He's in a showmance with his rocks that he brought.
I thought that was so sweet.
That was sweet.
Love that.
I felt bad when, like, was it
Angela was like,
what is this? Like, I was like, oh no, that's such
and then she was like, this is boring.
Sweet, thing to do. And
I would have loved it. I would have been upset that I hadn't thought of it. I mean, that was such a cool thing to do. I don't care if Ian's putting on a facade, I'm into it.
I'm on the Ian train. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm on board, even if it is fake. If he's faking it, good on him. It's impressive.
It's really impressive. So I think I'm excited to see how the season shapes up. I really like a lot of these characters. They're doing a good job making me root against some characters. So.
Any final thoughts on the first 2 episodes? Any final thoughts on the preview for tomorrow's episode?
I like the Australia time zone. I like that I can wake up in the morning
to a new episode. Yeah.
To a new episode. Or do you guys? I mean, I feel like I will look at results before I watch the episode because I can't stand the tension.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, I don't. I watch the whole thing. I don't want to get spoilers. I don't like spoilers.
I can't. I like spoilers. So.
Yeah. First thing I'll do when I wake up is I will look and be like,
I don't get that at all. I hate spoilers. I want to consume it as organically as possible.
I went to the Wikipedia page accidentally at some point yesterday to try to look up some information on someone's name, and the Wikipedia already had, that Laura got evicted first, and so her name. And I saw that Kieran was still not marked, so I'm like, oh, I know he's not going, because I knew that at the bottom of the list was somebody that had gone, and also all I knew was it was between Zoe and Laura at that final vote. But yeah, today it's like, nope, I'm not going to the Wikipedia page because I don't want to know. I don't know. Have you talked about for those of you that are going like, well, how the hell do I watch this? That's
people. We get a few comments about that. Yeah,
it's a challenge, to be honest. There are ways. I have tweeted out informational links. People put it out there, but you're kind of doing a little dodgy, weavy, and it gets also technologically challenging. If you aren't very tech savvy, it's going to be hard for you. And so
I would be careful too, because Sharifa claims that she got some kind of virus almost, or metadata attacking her computer from trying to access the site that we were.
Yeah, to me, the best for me, I'm not tech savvy, so the best for me is always going to be the Daily Motion, because it's a website I've used a million times. I don't download, I just stream and watch it. Yeah. So like, if you're not tech savvy like me, just follow Mike's page. Mike tweets out like all the channels and stuff. And if you don't have a VPN, just do the one that's the Daily Motion, because it's the easiest. I
have a VPN. I haven't been able to get it to work on my VPN, and I have a good VPN. I have a private, private net. I can't remember what it is, but I have it, and I can't get it to load. So my result, I've been getting it through one way, but yes, Daily Motion. There's a couple of different people I think posting them on Daily Motion, but they don't sometimes show up until they came up, I think 4:00 today or Eastern time, 3 or 4 o'clock Eastern time today. And the show airs at 2 a.m. Yeah. Ad block is always something you should have, but I don't want to. And if you don't have, there's so many, it opens a whole can of worms trying to teach people how to do this. And everybody's got different devices. People have their phones, people have their tablets, people have Chromebooks, people have Macs, and it's so hard to cater to everybody. So it's like, if you don't know how to do it, it's going to be hard. You should learn and get a little bit tech savvy, I guess. So I hate to sound like, well, tough on you, because I don't mean to be, but it's tough. Yes, exactly.
The dog knows.
Well, perfect. Thank you to everyone for sticking around and watching this whole stream with us. Thank you, of course, to Pooya and Sharifa, who had to leave a little earlier on. I want to show your social medias, and if you want to plug them briefly, you can tell people what they might be able to expect. Mike, how about you?
You can follow me at BBGossip. I'll be following Big Brother Australia, at least, and then once Big Brother the regular Big Brother season. Hopefully, we're getting more encouraging hints and things that it may be making an appearance. I'll be back doing a weekly podcast as well with Scott and Colette. So, yep, look forward to it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Suzi, how about you?
So on my Twitter, I like that my name is always all caps. Suzi is on my Twitter. You'll find poetry and reality TV, including Sequester, and also maybe whatever I am watching at the moment. I'm watching this show on Netflix called Kath and Kim from like whatever from the UK. So you might see some stuff about that, and also me having a lot of emotional breakdowns. So if you're into it, I got you.
Hell yeah, follow Suzi. Next up, also in all caps, we have Louie, or
Louie.
also known as L Dog from now on.
Yes, please change that moving forward to L Dog. My Twitter is, I mean, you know, I'm sure most of you seen it. It's reality TV based, pretty much. I'm trying to tweet more though. I feel like I need to make my own tweets. So maybe I'll try like a tweet a day, put out good content. But yes, feel free to follow.
There you go. You can follow me at TR Conradi on Twitter, Instagram, Byte, if you like short, funny videos. You can also follow the show. I had it up earlier at Podquester Mini on Twitter. This is where we will be posting when we go live, when we post our guests, when we post our schedules and whatnot. Other information about future streams. So be sure to give that a follow if you want to keep in touch with the show and everything that's going on there. And yes, we had a few other things. There's a link right here. I'm going to show it, and I'm also going to drop it in the chat. Please, everyone, Black Lives Matter, as we've said before on the future streams, that, of course, as we get further and further away from the inciting incident of why these protests have started, people start talking about it less and less, and you'll start to see them trending less and less, and people going back to posting their selfies on Instagram. But please don't stop talking about Black Lives Matters. Please sign whatever petitions you can sign. This particular website, or link, I should say, that I'm dropping here, it's a really good resource that condenses a lot of different bits of information. It has ways to donate. It has petitions you can sign, ways you can protest, ways that you can call and email and write in. And there's if you want help and you want to know where to help, I would say this is a fantastic resource. So be sure to use that. We will be going live again tomorrow. I'm sure you can see it down there for episode 2 of our Shattered Watch Party. If you did not watch episode 1 last week, I would encourage you to do so you can get caught up. But please avoid looking up spoilers from this 2004 show, British show. Please don't look them up. It's fun. We're gonna watch tomorrow. Of course, Shattered, if you didn't know, is it's the UK sleep experiment competition show. They put 10 British contestants into a house together for 8 days, and it's a competition to see who can go the longest without sleeping, without their IQ dropping the most, while they go through challenges and competitions. And it's very campy and very, very weird. Very bizarre. It's a lot of fun, and I can't wait for episode 2 tomorrow. So if you missed episode 1, catch up, and then catch us tomorrow at 8 p.m. Of course, a big thanks to the people I've had up on the screen for a minute or so, our moderators in the chat. Be sure to give those brave boys a follow. They make sure that our chat is safe for all of you. So they deserve all the love and recognition that they get. Thank you all again, everyone watching. Thank you to Will from America for our theme song that you hear at the beginning and that you'll hear again at the end when we sign off. Be sure to give Will from America a follow. Reach out to him. He is a very talented musician for hire. He does the music for Sequester. So if you need music for your project, give Will a call. Reach out to him. Well, we'll see you tomorrow, everyone, at 8 p.m. Thank you again, all of you, for coming on the show. Thank you to all of you, the audience, watching. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.